Folks, another wonderful rainy day here in Connecticut, but but the weather is getting better. So how about this 800 millimeter PF 6.3 lens? There's a lot of discussion going around about it, um, talking about things like its low light performance. And we're just going to have to wait and see how people cope with that. Yes, there may be some compensation needed to use it in low light, higher ISOs, and things like that. But I've become a definite supporter of Topaz AI denoise. Fantastic program. I'm a believer, and I've been using it, and I love it. Will that be something that will help with the low light performance of this lens? I don't know, but I already have some videos out. Everybody saw the teasers that some of the influencers put out, and now they have their fuller. That's a good word. Blah blah. Full review, or as full as it can be, on the lens, even though they were pre-production. I know Ricky has one out for talking about he's had the lens for 3 months. I haven't watched that yet. I did watch Steve Perry's because Steve Perry's a wildlife photographer. He's played with Sony as well. So he's going to give us a real good feel for how this lens performs and everything else. And he seems to be pretty excited about it. And I'm pretty excited about the PF piece too. So if you can handhold an 800 millimeter prime super telephoto, man, that's a great thing. And the one thing about this lens, no matter how much people want to tear it apart, not that they have or will, but you can bet that will be part of some people's comments, being at 6.3, is the price point. I mean, come on. Super telephoto, 800 millimeter, hand holdable. Yeah, it's 6.3, but $6,500. You just can't. You can't deny that's a great deal. And if I had the cash laying around, you can bet I would own that lens. I don't care if I only used it once a year. From what I've seen so far, it's fantastic. So, going to be interesting. There are going to be a lot of great photos come out using that lens. So, hello, everybody. I'm glad everybody's here. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. My little intro there. I am excited about this lens, and I'm sure you guys are too. So we'll get into it here. We have some guests that may drop in. I'm not going to throw any names out there because they're busy people, but they may drop in and chat with us for a minute. James, is anybody having a problem getting the finance department on board? Yeah, I've seen a sign before. It was at a motorcycle shop. It wasn't a dealer. Anyway, they had some fantastic bikes in there, a lot of custom bikes, and the sign on the door said, "Ask your wife before you enter." Kind of the same thing for us, I guess. But yeah, I don't even have to ask the wife. I'm definitely not going to buy it right now. Again, I'd love to have this lens, but it's just not it's not the priority for me right now. I've got some other things that I want to pick up. And when you're doing live streams, video, and photography, man, there are so many peripherals that you constantly want to pick up to improve things. And, that all takes away from just the photography portion of it. So, David, good to see you. It's only 1/3 stop darker. Yeah, and I've talked about that. We'll see. The real reviews are definitely starting to come out, and I haven't watched Ricky. If you guys have, maybe he's touched on that and talked about a comparison, because I guess now they can compare. Yeah, Charles, Matt just did his follow up to his teaser. I haven't watched that either. So I've been busy. I got a lot of things going on here at the house, but the show must go on. So here we are. I haven't been able to watch everything and provide feedback, but I'm sure you guys have. Charles, nice to see you. Ray, nice to see you. Hassan. Yeah, we got a lot of the usuals in here already. Ben Williams, hello. And Mr. James, let's see, I'd love to have the 800 PF lightweight cost is up there. Good focal length, yes. Guess we have to wait longer for the 2 to 600. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that 2 to 600 pans out. I mean, again, it's not an S lens, but that doesn't mean it won't be a good lens. Gustavo. And then Miss Amanda dropping in to say hi. Thank you, lovely lady. Hope you're having a good day. I know it's probably a busy day for you. Yeah, we had a great time last week. We're going to do that again. Now that we've got the process set up, and we can focus more on the creative side and actually taking photos, we're definitely going to do that again. Yeah, Charles, everything that I've seen so far does make the lens look fantastic. And I'll agree with some people. Obviously, everybody's putting their best photos forward. We don't know how many photos it took to get the better photos to post or whatever, but I still believe it's going to be a fantastic lens. I mean, come on, 800 millimeter. Just the background is going to be unbelievably creamy. You know, that out of focus area, the bokeh. And all that depends on the, how far the subject is from the background. I keep saying that because people don't understand. You can take a 600 millimeter f4 and put the subject right in front of a busy background. And guess what? It's not going to melt away. It will be better than most lenses, yes, but. So let's see. VH Media, welcome. Let me throw this up here. From Napa. Wow. Vahagan's here. Yeah, he's using my iPad account. Yeah, I talked to Vahagan earlier, and I talked to him yesterday. He's up there enjoying life, and that's good. Everybody needs a break. And I extended the invitation for him to drop by and say a few words if he wanted to, but not to take away from his family, because I know they're all up there enjoying themselves. But nice to meet you, and hopefully you'll become part of our crowd. It's you just using his. Okay. All right. So Vahagan is in the house borrowing somebody's iPad. See how much he loves you guys? All right. Okay. So yeah, this is going to be an interesting lens. Everybody is definitely Van Halen Media. Hey, good to see you, Moz, man. Nikon in here. Good. I know he's busy working as well, but glad to see you in here, Nikon. 5 meter minimum focus distance is also great. Yes, absolutely, Gustavo. There's a lot to like about this lens. I mean, let's talk about what's great about this lens right up front, and that is the price. $6,500 for a lens, a super telephoto lens. Yeah, it's a third stop loss on light, but I mean, I think I could work around that. I really do. And as I brought up earlier with Topaz denoise, and if you haven't tried that, you got to give that a shot, the free trial. I think you're going to be impressed. And I'm not trying to sell it for Topaz, but as far as third-party software goes, they have knocked it out of the park with their denoise. So definitely check that out. And that may give you the oomph to say, you know what, I can live with a third stop loss and light on a lens. Yeah, it was made for outdoors, I would agree, but a lot of people, and Nikon's going to chime in on that, I'm sure. There are shooting events and things at night, whether it be football, and that's the other football, not American football, of course, soccer, and things like that. So the Europeans are looking at it for that as well. I don't know if 800 millimeters the best lens for shooting football or soccer or whatever, but obviously you could. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how people apply this lens. Yeah, Matt's using it for portraits. Probably not the primary use of that lens. I know he did it in his teaser. And break out the Motorola's so you can talk to your subject. You just have to find a way to hide it. She can hide it or he can hide it whenever you're taking the photo. But interesting, interesting take from Matt on that. Something unique. You probably won't see anybody else doing that, and maybe that's why he did it. I know he's doing it sort of tongue in cheek, doing the portraits, but still funny. And Nikon says the lens is geared for daytime usage, but struggle at night and under floodlights. The Sigma 150 to 600 6.3 was slow and dark when I last used it. You know what though, Nikon? I wouldn't base it on the Sigma 150 to 600. Let's wait and see. Somebody's going to shoot this in low light. I have a feeling it may be Morton Hilmer. He is out with the film crew with Ricky, or was. He's not now. And I'm guessing they definitely have done a video with the 800. So it's going to be interesting to see. There you go. I'll throw it up here for all to see. Vahagan got your gimbal. So Vahagan got his gimbal. He's got his sticks or tripod. He's ready to go with his 600 f4. So Vahagan, you need to buy this 800. Get on a priority list so you can compare it. Go out and do a comparison with your 604. If I had the 604, I probably wouldn't be as interested in this lens, the 800. But for the price of that 800, man, I say interested. Of course, I'm interested. But again, it's just not a lens that I'm going to purchase anytime soon. So Nikon says soccer 400 2.8 and rugby 600 f4. So, all right, I've not shot either or American football or anything like that. So I can't say what the best focal lengths will be for either. But if you have, all right. Yeah. Steve Perry's video was awesome. And again, that's why that was the first one I wanted to go to. He can give us, he and I think Morton Helmer can give us a great idea as to how this thing's going to perform in the field, be it, full daylight or low light, early morning and evening. The other would be Mr. Bayou Josh. I'd like to see him get his hands on it. Although the reason he's purchasing the 400 2.8 TC is because one of his complaints was with the 600 f4, he'll have his subjects move closer than the minimal focal distance. And, the TC really provided him with the best of both worlds. So it would be nice to see him give that a whirl, though, the 800, that is. Gustavo. 1/3 stop is nothing. Many ways to compensate. Yeah, absolutely. And again, getting the shot is the most important part. Somebody told me that a long time, an old photographer, get the shot. Don't worry about the noise. Don't worry about this. Don't worry about that. If it's a once, in a lifetime shot, obviously you take it and go with it. For somebody that's making a living and needs a super telephoto, this, in fact, may not be their lens. Okay. But time may tell that it works extremely well, and there's plenty of ways to mitigate that 1/3 stop loss of light. So, let's see. Oh, whoa. What's this, Mozman? I haven't heard that. Are we a Z9 owner now? That's great. I missed your comment there. So you went back to shoot some more birds at the location that you and Vahagan had been. Great. You got to tell us about it, man. throw this up here for Hagen, for Vahagen. Maybe he wants to check it out as well. James. Charles ordered the Leo photo gimbal. Okay. Be interesting to hear about how that works. I think the gimbals nowadays, way back when, the only thing we had really was Wimberley. And then there were a lot of Chinese knockoffs that were so-so, but now there's some quality gimbals out there. And of course, Vahagen will talk about, I'm not going to jump in there and steal his thunder, but I'm sure he's going to talk about his. And he pointed out one big item on his gimbal, made in America. I like to see that. Yeah, we'll throw this up here so everybody knows. In the event that you disappear, Mr. Nikon, well, we hate to see you go, but again, everybody's got to support the habit, right? And that means work. So we understand. Let's see. Oh, throw this in here for you guys, Mr. Vahagen. Trying to get down through these comments pretty quick. Yeah, Steve, he does. Mr. Robert Daniels is in the house from Bermuda. Woohoo! Hope you're enjoying it down there, Robert. Yeah, Steve's video was great, Charles. Yep. And so Robert just watched Steve Perry's video as well. Yeah, he was definitely Nikon. He was singing the praises of it. Did you all catch the part where he said he may just pull the PF lenses, even though two of them would be F mount, the 300 PF, the 500 PF, and the 800 PF, and take a whirl out at some wildlife photography with those three. Let's see. Everybody run over to Napa and see Vahagen. Yeah, it's a pretty good jaunt from where I'm at, but I would love to. Let's see. So Seth Miranda was holding the Z9 with the 800 in the video, holding it with the camera. Yeah, wouldn't do that. Yeah, I don't think I think I would pick it up from time to time or whatever. But yeah, I agree with you. I wouldn't be swinging that around with the daggone 800 attached to the mount. And Mr. Nikon, since you've been absent here lately, I'm going to try to catch your comments, keep everybody up to date on what's going on with you. And I know he's waiting on his 400 2.8 TC as well. Hoping you get that soon. You can fill us in on exactly how great that lens is. And Charles saying, congrats to Mozman. Yeah, again, congrats, Mozman. That's everybody's issue, I think. It's so hard to keep up with the processing. I just shot an event this weekend for a friend. He promotes a lot of car shows and bike shows and things like that. So I'm going to provide him with some photos. He also has a newspaper in the tri-state area up here talking about all things automobile or motorcycle and so on and so forth. So he'll have some photos from his latest show, the indoor show, to put in the paper. Yeah, and you're always in a hurry to try to get those photos edited and ready to go for people. A lot of congrats to Mr. Mozman on his Z9. Let's see. Gustavo shows a couple pictures from Red Deer that have similar settings as the 400. Okay. He's been working with the lens, for 3 months, but man, he keeps dropping that bomb on us, doesn't he? showing us how privileged he is. No, I'm just kidding. I'm glad somebody gets their hands on these things early on and can really put them through the paces and give us some feedback. Although what they're using or what he's using is, of course, a pre-production. But when it comes to a lens, I mean, how much differences are going to be between the pre-production and the final product? I know there can be firmware updates within the lens functioning as well, but he can give us a real good idea of it. And again, I'm glad somebody is out there that gets their hands on the stuff early on and can provide us with some real early feedback on how the lens or camera is going to perform, just like you did with the Z9. Okay. Oh, no, Rakesh, I didn't pre-order the 800. If, like I said, if I had a bag of cash, a lot of money just laying around, yes, I would have bought it. No doubt about it. This is a lens that I'm really interested in because of the price. $6,500. Who would have thunk that an 800 millimeter lens, 6.3, would sell, and a prime would sell for $6,500? I mean, we all kind of predicted it. All the naysayers over in Nikon Rumors, I'm sure, are quiet, and they're not going to acknowledge their lack of courage to really predict what the price would be. They all took the safe route, and everybody was talking about $11,000 to $12,000. Well, you weren't even close. And but we stood our ground and said, and I'll admit, I said from 6,000 to 8,000. So I wouldn't come out and say exactly 6,000 or 6,500. Hey, Mr. Ike, how you doing, buddy? Photo me Ike here. Not a lens for you, I suppose, Ike, but you got to admit, 800 millimeters, $6,500. Man, it's going to hurt the competition a little bit. No doubt about that. I think Nikon's, well, could it be a strategy? I don't know. Or they just finally, they found the process of producing or manufacturing cameras and lenses that allow them to make them more affordable. But think about that. You could have a Z9 and an 800 millimeter lens for what, $12,000? Well, that won't even buy you the lens in other brands. And, that's fantastic. Nikon's knocking it out of the park right now. And all of their Z-mount lenses have been fantastic. I think some are so good that we treat other Z-mount lenses like they're not as great. But they're even the lenses that people say, there may be not an issue, but it may be soft in the corner, whatever, are still as good or even better than the F-mount equivalent. So they're knocking it out of the park right now, man. Take care, Nightcan, man. Hopefully you can jump back in at some point. Glad you stopped in. I come here for some family entertainment, and here you are using words like work. Yeah, got to feed the habit. Charles says he has a Benro, but it's a bit heavy. Lee Photo has a nice case for it. Yeah. You see an 800 in my future, Vahagan? Yeah. Well, you never know. You never know, man. I said that the 1 to 400 with the TC 2.0 was the poor man's 800, but with definite limitations. I mean, there's a huge difference between F11 at 800 and 6.3. So, yeah, that 800 is definitely something that I'll keep my eye on. I do get to watch all the videos and everything else and wait until it's in everybody's hands before I buy this, because I just can't put that much money forward for one lens. Got too many other things I need to pick up here in the near future. So, Albert, good to see you, buddy. Scrolling back down here. Yeah, Charles, the newer, however you pronounce that, they've put out a lot of different items and things that, some are better than others, but yeah, again, when you're a poor photographer, those are the things that you look at. I do too, but glad to hear that. Maybe what you've picked up so far has helped you out. And Mr. Robert, images look pretty good. Some people were saying that the Nikon examples were okay, but again, 800 millimeter PF we were talking about. I don't know how they could say okay. What are they comparing it to? Again, is that what we're going to do, is compare this to the 800 5.6 with TC, of course, not internal, as you all know. I mean, let's look at the price difference and let's change the way we say the baby's ugly, okay? But I think that 800, the photos that I saw, even in the teasers, were, I think, pretty fantastic. And coming from somebody that doesn't own a 600 or a 800, I think we're going to look at them differently than, all the pixel peepers and, maybe professionals that are actually paid to use super telephoto lenses. I think they look pretty daggone good. Mozman, tempted. Almost bought the 800. Total price was, $7,003. So taxes. You came to your senses. I can't justify it. Yeah. Okay. That word justify, I guess we can use that too, even though we may not be shooting pros or whatever. For me, it's never justified. Well, I guess it is, because I am justifying not buying it right now because I need some other things. But yeah, it's very tempting. Thank you, Robert. Yes, please, if you would, hit the likes. And for those that may join us that aren't necessarily a subscriber, we're a different kind of channel. I'll throw that in there real quick. We are different in that the audience is part of the show. I don't speak to anyone. I want everybody included, and we have a good time. We have a great time talking about all the stuff here in photography and, our likes. We stay away from politics, plenty of different channels to go talk about politics. Not that we aren't passionate about politics or other things, but trying to keep it out of the channel and just enjoy photography. So enjoy your time up there, Mr. Verhagen. Have a good time. And I know your family's enjoying it. And you'll be back soon. Thanks for dropping by and saying hi to everybody. Appreciate that. I know everybody else does too. James, I'll give you the $3 if you let me borrow it. Mozman. Great. Let's see. Yeah, Mr. Verhagen is up a bit early this morning, isn't he? Out there in California. I'm sure that the family wants to go see things and do things and not waste time. So, Mozman. Disney for wine. That's a good description. Let's see. Bogan did get an answer to that. Have a great day, buddy. Have a great day. Charles, a lot of money, a lot of lens. Yeah, it is a lot of money, but it's a lot less money than some of the alternatives. And it just depends on how, this is a prime. So you're getting a professional lens, albeit, losing that one stop of light, or not one stop, but 1/3 stop light. And again, $6,500 for, it is a professional lens. I'm just going to say it is. And man, And Robert says he knew it was going below $7,000. Yeah. I think most of us were in that ballpark. Again, I played it a little bit safe, saying 6 to 8. I wasn't sure. James could have had it in the Z6, opted for the Z9, then wait for the 2 to 600. 2 to 500 works great, but would still love the new 800. Yeah, and that's where I'm at too, sort of, James. I would love to have it. I'm not going to finance it. I'll get it when I can get it. And who knows what's going to come out. You're right. The 2 to 600 is yet to come out. Again, not an S lens, but I'm sure it's going to be quality glass. We'll just have to see how well it does. I have the zoom that I need. The 1 to 400, I've really become more and more in love with that lens. Shot it at the indoor event the other day, and it worked fantastic. Now, the lighting I was working under was all fluorescent, and here's the kicker. It wasn't all the same temperature fluorescent. So it was just kind of a nightmare. Believe it or not, I went to auto white balance, and that worked best. I couldn't set it a Kelvin temperature or use the settings for fluorescent lighting because it just kept bouncing back and forth. Three different I'd get three different tones. So I went to auto. I know people will say that's crazy, but it worked great in my case. I still had to go back and do a little correction on the temperature. So white balance isn't perfect. However, for what I was shooting, everybody seems to enjoy the photos, and they're going to go in a paper for reproduction. And well, you know how that is. The quality's good, but being print, it's just not going to be near as good as it could be. So there's my take on the 1 to 400. I love the lens, and I'm keeping that no matter what. But I'd still like to have that 800 super telephoto or a 600 4. I'd love to have that 400 2.8 TC. That's not going to happen. Definitely not anytime soon. As my wife likes to say, you need to get a job before you invest a whole lot more into photography. Robert, good point. Their strategy is a whole lot more realistic, that being Nikon. They just need to move merch out, and they pull for us advanced amateurs and pro. The pull for us advanced amateurs and pros is incredible. I agree with you. I think they're right. I think their strategy on their lens roadmap has been great. A lot of people complained about it, especially early on, because Canon came out with their, whatever it was, 28 or whatever to 70 or I don't know, lens. Was it F2? I think so. And everybody just saw Canon is knocking it out of the park. Well, probably fewer people bought that lens than they expected because of the price on it. And anyway, Nikon's glass has been fantastic. All the Z mount glass has been great. I'll say that again. And I'm looking forward to everything else they come out with. And I'm still leaning towards that 28-75 Nikon, whether it's Tamron approved or Tamron like or Tamron's whatever design. I don't care. Nikon tweaked it. I like it. And it's a good, reasonable 2.8 in that focal range. Now, for those of you that are only buying one lens because you shoot one thing all the time, I get it. If that were me, I'd go for the 24-70 2.8 Z lens. But there are times when I want to carry two of those, believe it or not, or I want to have, when you're talking about video, you can't have enough of the same focal length lens. You don't realize that until you're trying to do things from different angles and everything else. But anyway, that 28-75 is looking pretty appealing to me. Photo Me Ike, who is, I guess he's still in there, he did a review on it, and it was very impressive. Good lens. I'm not looking at it for landscape. So if it is in fact soft in the corners, and it probably is, but it's another one of those things that, what can you live with for the price? For video, it would be just fine. For what I would shoot for portraits, it would be just fine. But I'm still waiting on a strictly portrait lens from Nikon, and that may be the 85 that is due. And I don't know that I care about whether it's a defocus lens or not. I've never used one, so I don't know. But if it's something that's going to make it a little more difficult, then I don't know. I don't know. I'm on the fence whether I would get it. If it is defocus, I'll have to wait and see. Ronald, thank you for dropping by. Sorry it took so long to get down here to your comment. Yeah, I need to get you on the show too. I hope things are going well for you, and congrats on the grad. For those that don't know, you need to check out, friend Ronald and see what's going on in his life. But congrats again. And again, look forward to talking to you. Oh, by the way, you remind me, I want to throw up here our call line. It is open for anybody that wants to call in. So by all means, do so. Charles, let's see. You're talking to James, close to the 2 to 500 scenes. Some go for under $1,000. Well, that's great. Yeah, the F mount lenses are definitely falling in the reasonable ballpark now for a lot of people to snatch. Actually, good deals. James has James, I would put your comment up here, but then it gets rid of my call line number and somebody might want it. 2 to 500's awesome lens. I also have the Sigma 150 to 600. Well, maybe you can speak to what Nikon was saying and, how bad is the 150 to 600 in lower light? Maybe you can enlighten us here a little bit. I don't own it, so I wouldn't know. Okay, compared to what? I'm so far behind in the comments here, Ronald. You'll have to share with me again, and I'll give it a second. I'm gonna skip on down to the bottom. Charles, let's see, has the Sigma 50 to 500, says it's okay. Oh, maybe that's it. Okay, compared to what? I don't know. Oh, the baby is ugly. Yeah, I learned that from a colonel a long time ago when I used to be very outspoken and I am very opinionated. You guys probably hadn't noticed that. But anyway, Colonel, after me giving him a comment about what just took place as far as the operation that was going on, and he said, Chuck, you can say the baby's ugly without actually saying the baby's ugly. So hang on a second. Ronald's on the phone. Hang on. All right, Ronald, give me a second. Let's see. All right, go ahead. And not hearing you, buddy. Hang on. Let me go back to. Yeah.
I'm good.
There you go.
Yeah, buddy. I just wanted to make sure I was clear on my statement.
Okay.
I was agreeing with you.
Oh.
When you said the 800 PF is good compared to what?
Yeah.
And I'm saying to you, I agree with you, Chuck.
Yeah.
What are they comparing it to? What at that price point for that quality? So that's what that means. Yeah. Exactly, Chuck. I agree with what you said.
Yeah, I don't know how anybody could actually complain about it. Well, and let's wait. Let's be fair to all those that want to complain about it. Let's be fair and say we'll see what comes out of all the reviews that are coming out. So far, it's been stellar. I think everybody's rating this lens based on the price too, and the focal length, and being a prime. But I mean, come on, 800 millimeters prime quality glass for $6,500. What do you compare it to?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Chuck. And think about this. Nikon just introduced the Z line 4 years ago, Chuck.
Yeah.
Barely 4 years ago. And to see the growth of the Z line is absolutely phenomenal. And the speed at which Nikon is moving and the quality. Oh. Remember when everybody was dogging out 1.8?
Yeah.
And then when they started using it, they were like, hold on, this is actually 1.4.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I remember that when Jared Polin did his little review when he went to the Nikon shindig about the introduction of it and blah, blah, blah. And first thing out of his mouth was, this isn't a professional lens because it was 1.8. See, that's a stigma we live with from the F-mount days.
Mm-hmm,
and nobody had enough experience with the 1.8s yet. And I can understand why they may see a 1.8 as, well, that's not pro. It has to be 1.4. Well, then they gave us the 1.2s And I mean, look at stellar lenses. So you have an affordable that equates to the old F mount 1.4 with the 1.8. So you get that a whole lot cheaper than the 1.4s. And then we go beyond that and give you a 1.2 at the price of the old 1.4s. Am I off here? I mean, I think it's just fantastic.
I think you're being fair. I also believe, Chuck, that it's a culture of toxicity within some ranks, because other companies are doing the same thing and they don't get half the ish that Nikon gets thrown at it.
I agree. And I've said that over and over and over. If there's any little flaw or even major flaw in the other brands, they just kind of gloss over it. I mean, I'm not going to say they never mention it, because they do. But it seems like with Nikon, when they bring it up, they take the littlest thing and they just expound on it and talk about it. It's as if they want Nikon to fail. I've said that for so long. I don't understand that.
Yeah. But it's amazing how you have so many of us who are prospering and loving them and having a great time with our Z system. And like you, Chuck, I've been in the I came from the F mount 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So I've been with Nikon all that time. And believe me, I've had Sony, especially Sony, send me gear asking me to evaluate. And this is before the YouTube sensation, where people were being able to highlight that Sony sent this to me.
Yeah.
So I don't have that cachet.
Yeah.
But I have had Sony send me stuff, and I've had Canon send me stuff, and I've had all these different people. Fuji had me test gear for a week, and I came back home to the Nikon ecosystem. I came back home to the ergonomics. I came back to the file quality. I came back to the artistic nature of the files. I came back to the entire handling, and it's been a blessing. It's been amazing for me, man. So I've tried them all. I've tried the A9, the A9 II. I play with all of that stuff, Chuck. But I'm good. I'm so good.
You know, and I hope people would see at least our channel here as not bashing the other brands, because I don't.
Not at all.
I will tell you that not that I've shot any of them, but I've seen what they've done. You know, the A1 I think is a fantastic camera. It has its limitations or whatever. The Canon R5, I think that's a fantastic camera. I'm not going to talk about the R3 because it's kind of different, and you know it has. Well, anyway, and nothing wrong with it. Don't get me wrong, but so I'm not bashing those.
Yeah. But I tell you what, man, you have been fair. Your channel is so positive, and that's why I said to you, keep inspiring us, Chuck.
Well,
because
thank you.
It's a wonderful experience to have open discussion, honest discussion, positive discussion, and transparent discussion.
Yeah.
And that to me is what your brand on YouTube represent. And I love you, Vahagan, Photo Miai, Frames, Matt. You know, I love all the cats. I even love the Ortiz guy who's with Sony. I enjoy so many of the cats.
Oh yeah. I'm not. You're absolutely right. There are a lot of people out there that I just enjoy watching. I love their content. I love the way they produce it. And you're right. And they're all different brands. As a matter of fact, I have someone that's going to be on the show middle of May. Right now he's tied up, but he's a travel photographer. Lives in Malaysia and shoots with Canon. But let me tell you, you're talking about some stunning photos. I mean,
yeah, man. Yeah.
Unbelievable. And he's going to be on to talk about that, but he's not hawking Canon, you know, he may mention at some point in time, you know, it was taken with a Canon or whatever, but yeah, he's just enjoying the photography, and that's what it's all about, you know.
Chuck, that last image of the graduate, and then I'll let you go, and other people may want to call in. That was shot with the Z9.
Okay.
And I had to have the speed, the accuracy of autofocus to pull that off with all the confetti.
Right.
And you talk about a true joy. Chuck, now the only problem I have with Nikon, and I told my reps, it's hard to go back to the 7.2.
I've heard others say the same thing.
Oh, it's hard, Chuck. It's so hard.
I shot with the Z6II and the Z9 Saturday, and at the show, and the ability to match the cameras was fantastic too. It wasn't always that way in the DSLRs. Trying to match colors and things, but the 6.2 and the Z9, I got them hooked up, and again, going to auto white balance. I know people cringe when they hear that, but in this case, it worked out. But they matched when I did that. Now, how often are you going to find that an auto setting in a camera is identical or pretty close to being identical with another body at another tier? I was impressed with it. But then again, I'm a Nikon fan. I'm not saying Nikon's greater than any of the other brands, but it is the brand that I like. So there you have it.
Yes.
And all of them have something. You're going to give something up. It's a shame you couldn't just put them all in a pot and make one camera brand. And but then again, you can't, because larger camera doesn't appeal to somebody, smaller camera doesn't appeal to somebody else, and so on and so forth. So
Right. Just like cars, all cars can't be the same.
That's right. And I love the people that say, "Well, why do you need a Z9?" Because I'm not shooting for money. I'm not, a professional photographer or a working photographer. But why does anybody need a Ferrari? Why does anybody need a Cadillac? Why does anybody, you sound like Henry Ford. The only thing they need is a Model T, and that's what they get.
Well, I tell you what, man, I have. We got to talk, Chuck, offline, so I can share with you the stuff I got coming up in Africa.
Okay.
And I would love to be able to have someone you've been there many times like I have, and I've been around the Horn, and I love it. And I with the Z9, that 100 to 400, the teleconverters, Chuck, I think we'd be in heaven.
Yes,
I think we'd just be in heaven, man. We'd be in photography heaven, brother.
I agree.
Because that's phenomenal, man. That experience is unbelievable. And people who are listening, who've never been, oh my gosh, man, you don't know what you're missing when you travel to those parts of the world.
Oh, absolutely. I agree.
You can't explain it, Chuck. You can't put that in words, Chuck. No, they've got to experience it.
You're right. You can't. And beyond the photography, just the culture, the people are fantastic.
Yes.
I love them.
Yes.
Yeah, I had a ball. I had a great time. And I was fortunate. The Army let me do that. Well, I say they let me do that. I was there to work and did, but had time to experience it all. I just wish I'd had cameras with me when I was doing it.
Okay, man. I'm going to let the other people get in, because there are others who want to share things with you. And but thank you for taking my call, Chuck. And let's talk offline so we can set up something, and we can talk through the journeys, man.
Absolutely. Sounds great. And I appreciate you calling.
Yes, sir.
All right, Ronnie. Have a great day, buddy.
You too, sir. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, man. Oh, yeah, I appreciate the call. That's what I like about you guys. I love about you guys is we can do this. We can have a good time and talk about all these different things. James, there's always going to be somebody that's going to complain. You're absolutely right. And the world's full of them. And I guess we just have to put up with them. Hello, Robert Beal. Good to see you. Todd says, love the Z6II, Z9 combo. Both bodies really complement each other. I agree with you, Todd. And I really this was the first time out with both cameras hanging around my neck. And by the way, my shoulders didn't ache. I wasn't dying after, 4 or 5 hours walking around with both cameras, and just had to throw that in there. So the weight isn't so tremendous that it kills me. All right. Let's see, Robert. Oh, I missed something there, so I won't address that. Let's see. Steve Perry loves it. This is Woody. Richie seems to be on the fence with the 800. Oh, that's interesting. I haven't seen his video yet, Woody. I look forward to watching it, but I got up this morning to a lot of things I had to do. and didn't have time. I did watch Steve Perry's just to get a feel for what people were saying, and he definitely liked it. Everybody get their 800 ordered today. Yeah, in our dreams, in my dreams, I did order it today. No, I'm just kidding, of course. I'd love to have it. I really would. I would buy it in a minute if I just had that, liquid cash ready to go. Didn't need it for anything else. I'd definitely buy that lens. I'd take the chance. I have that much faith in Nikon that this lens is going to just be fantastic. Is there a pill for the Z syndrome? Yeah, I need one too. Jeffrey talking about Ricky was impressed. Let's see. The comments keep jumping. Ricky was impressed with it. He stated that it is not a lower tier than the 400, and he looked forward to comparing them. He felt the 800 PF would be better than the 400 with the 1.4 converter added to it. I would guess that it will. I would expect that it will. Oh, you're talking about the 400 TC. Whoa. Okay. Better than that? I mean, wow. That's a big statement. And if that is true, there are going to be a lot of people that are going to second guess. Now, I think the only thing is that function of the two lenses. With the 400, it gives you that latitude to shoot out to almost 600, or the 400 millimeter at the flick of a switch, no less. So that makes it a lot more, functional for some photographers. And that was the reason that Bayou Josh talked about the 400 TC. There's the reason that he wanted it, because he had the 600 f4, but found at times it was just too long for the subjects he was shooting. So there's a case for all these lenses, and you just have to pick the one that best fits what you're doing. So yeah, that the 800, I think, is just going to sell like hotcakes, man. It's going to be hard to get your hands on that lens for a while, which is why I did the video earlier. If you think you want it, you want it, you better be searching for a camera store, get on their list. It's going to be a whole lot shorter than B&H and Adorama, and you might actually get it in your hands pretty quick. Robert Beal got it ordered. NPS priority. No, I'm not gonna bash you, Robert. It's not you. We're not gonna go back there and revisit all of that. But good on you. I'm glad you got it ordered. If it's something that you want, definitely. Let's see. Of course, it's physics. The more photons you get at the front of the front are better, or the better. Yeah, Touch Life. I agree with you. I've said that too, but I just don't think they're going to do it. That's the big secret. That's the secret they've got to hide from everybody, is the camera roadmap. Wouldn't that be nice though? Just give us a silhouette of something. If nothing else, on the camera roadmap. I want them to update the lens roadmap now. There are enough lenses that are already out. I think it's time to update it. Other people are saying, no, they need to finish it before they. I don't understand that. Well, why wouldn't we want an updated roadmap? Anybody got a thought on that? But a few people have said, no, finish it first. I think they think that means they get those lenses out faster. And I don't know how they come up with that. Or maybe they don't think that. I don't know what it is. But anyway. Yes. Yep. Touch Life. It would be great if they did have a camera roadmap. Yeah. Bigger glass is always better than smaller glass. Got it. Agree 100%. And I thought that might be what you were talking about. Absolutely, James. 400 TC Z lens is great, and I love it. End up with a 1.4 TC on it. A lot because so you have the 400 TC already. Is that correct, Robert? So you end up with a 1.4 in addition to the built-in 1.4. Okay. So the flexibility isn't something that you find more appealing with your 400 TC, meaning you're seeing you shoot beyond 400, or not, well, of course, but you shooting farther than, or looking for a focal length beyond 560 millimeter. That's interesting. Well, I'd like to have both of them, depending on what I'm shooting, I could carry either, but yeah, I'd love to have both, but the 800 is definitely appealing so far with me. Yeah, Jeffrey talking about adding the 1.4 with the built-in TC takes it out to 784 millimeter. And you can expect when Jeffrey posts something, he's counted it down to the millimeter. Just kidding, Jeffrey. I love you, man. You're the techno that I need in my life in the background to keep me straight. Yeah, if you want, Jeffrey, no problem, buddy. You're welcome to join. Oh, wow. All right. So the call line's up there. Everybody take note of it. Write it down if you think you want to call in, because I'm going to throw some comments up here now. I'll give everybody a chance. Not that anybody really cares to do that, but so you do shoot pro and have over 100,000 shots on your Z9 already. Wow. Robert, you got to share with us. Give us some, give us some sites to go to or whatever you're doing. We want to see, man. We want to see what you're doing with this gear. Everybody likes to look at beautiful photos, man. No matter what it is, if it's product or whatever, anything that you can release is what I'm getting at. I know as a shooting pro or working photographer, there are photos that you do or jobs you do, you can't release the photos. So, but anything you can share with us, we'd love to see it. Definitely drop it down here. All right. So we got Mr. Jeffery Neville going to join in here. So I'll switch over here and get him into the chat or into the mix.
Hello.
Hey, Jeffrey.
How are you?
Yeah, good, man. I'm going to turn my volume up. I had it turned way down. It's not you, it's me.
I had to go and give blood.
All right. All right, man. Well, good to have you in here. And we still have somebody else that may join us yet. So hopefully he'll make it in. A surprise guest. All right.
I have some interesting tidbits if you wish me to share them when you say, what do you compare the 800 to?
Oh, I'm ready, man. And happy to see that you've taped up the post on the chair and you're
Well, it hasn't sunk yet. So
okay.
I may have a sinking feeling shortly. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm skipping lunch, so I'll probably stay high.
Okay. All right, buddy. So go ahead with your observations and
okay. So let's first look at I think the 400 2.8 that's out with the built-in 1.4. I mean, that's a whole different character, versatility wise. And of course, it's also a totally different price point at 14K. But if you want to look at that and saying, well, compare the 800 PF to the 400 2.8 with the built-in 1.4 and saying, well, I want to get that 400 2.8 to be at 800. Well, the closest you're going to get is the flip the switch, engage the 1.4 built-in telly, add another 1.4 telly, and you're going to be at 784. Now, Ricky implied during his video today that he says, don't think of the 800 PF as a second tier lens to this 400 by any means. He says it is not a lower tier quality. And he is going to do testing and he's going to compare them, at that 800 range. And he thinks the 800 PF could very well be better.
Wow.
At that focal length, because you're not using any TCs, obviously. Now the other factor is not just price. You're looking at 6,500 versus 14 grand is the weight. You take the 400 2.8 is 6.5 pounds. You add the TC, you're at 6.9875 pounds when you add another telly to it. So versus 5.25. So there's
Yeah.
a big weight difference between the two as well. The other comparison would be to the existing 800 F mount, which is a $16,000 plus lens and weighs 13.46 pounds. And he felt that the 800 PF image quality wise was as good as that F mount.
Okay.
So it's almost, if you like the 800 range, it kind of seems like a no-brainer if that's a range that you're interested in. And I think, like, I have the 100 to 400 Z mount, and I love that lens, and I love it for, in terms of wildlife. It's great if you got the birds closer to shore or closer to where you're standing. It gives you a little extra reach. But if you're shooting stuff, birds in flight, things that are a little farther out, 400 is going to be too short, which is why a lot of people, if they could have afforded it at the time, would buy the 600 f4 and use that. So I think if you're shooting at stuff that's a little farther out, birds in flight, this 800 is going to be great. And it's also going to be good if you're photographing things that are very skittish, that don't allow you to get close, and would be great for bringing in the size of the bird more, like for small birds. They're going to fill the frame more. You're not going to be cropping as much. You're going to have a better quality there too. So another interesting tidbit is, obviously, the 400 2.8 has those voice coil motor, stepper motors that are in it now. They're not even stepper there. They work with the magnets. But an interesting thing, when you go on Nikon's website and you look at the voice coil motor description, at the end of the statement, it says, realizing unprecedented autofocus performance even for a heavy lens. And that's really what it comes down to, is you don't need the VCM motor system in the 800 PF because you don't have as many lens elements in it. It's not as heavy. You can get by with a high-end stepper motor and get fast results, and that helps
Right.
keeps the cost down as well. So that's kind of my observations on the whole thing, and what you could compare it to.
So, and that's just it. It's versatility is the key here to determine which route you go. And that's something that Bayou Josh brought up right away when the 400 TC was announced, based on his use of the 604. So for somebody like him, that is the absolute best way to go. With 800 millimeter, obviously you're stuck with that. You have a minimum focus distance, but depending on how large the subject is, the closer it gets, you're taking a picture of a moose's nostril rather than the moose. And that may be cool, but it's probably not what you want. So having that versatility is one thing. Now, if you feel you don't need it, you're always out there at 600 and beyond for your subjects or whatever it is you're shooting. Then that 800's got to be more appealing to everybody in that category than the 400 TC. Just my opinion. The one thing that I want to bring up too is, if you've never shot at 800 millimeter or longer focal length, let me tell you, it will be a shock to you. And I'm sure many here have, but if you haven't, it will be a shock to you when you go to find the subject in the viewfinder. Your field of view, I think it's 3 degrees with the 800. Isn't that what somebody said or quoted?
3 or 4. I think might be 4 at the most, but
yeah,
it's pretty low.
Let me tell you, trying to find something, you're searching with the super long focal length. it becomes extremely difficult. You find yourself looking over the lens, back through the EVF, trying to get it pointed in the right area, looking over and back. And which is why Gray's just did that video on the Nikon's version of a red dot sight or whatever. I manipulated one. I happen to have one and used it on my 400 with my 1.7 TC and my D500. So I'm out to 900 and something millimeter. And I was trying to find birds, and it was aggravating me. So I modified that, put it on the hot shoe, and it makes it so much easier because I can actually put the dot on the subject, look through the EVF, and wow, I'm almost bang on. I'm not going to say that I didn't have to adjust, but when you're dealing with 3 millimeter, 4 millimeter field of view, it becomes difficult. I don't know why I felt compelled to. I don't know how anybody tracks birds that are close.
I'll share a Steve Perry tip. I bought several of his books, ebooks, and if I put a tele on a long lens, I'd be searching, like you said, you're looking with your eyes, you see the bird, you bring the camera up, you don't see the bird, you're getting frustrated, you're going nuts. And I went through that for quite a while, and I'm like, this is driving me crazy. And he came up with a tip that I'll tell you works 98% of the time. And he'll say, you lock on with your eye on that bird. You just keep your eyes locked on it, and you don't move your head up or down at all. You just lock on the bird with your eye, and you bring the viewfinder up to your eye level without moving your head, and that bird will be there.
You know what?
That works really, really well. I mean, it will totally change your results and and it works. It just works. You cannot drop your eye at all. You have to lock onto the bird, bring the camera up, look through the viewfinder, and that bird will be there. It's great.
I'm going to try it. I'd never thought about trying that, but I will. Probably a bit more difficult if you're shooting on a gimbal, but if you're hand holding, I could see that being a lot easier to do, but I'll give it a try. Matter of fact, if it wasn't raining today, I'd probably go out after the stream and give that a try. I find myself shooting with that 1-400 when I'm outside with the TC in line. I don't know why. I can't take it off. Because I 800 millimeter, and the flexibility being a zoom, from 2 to 800 millimeter. I mean, come on, that's a fantastic range. So I bring that up because James just brought up, maybe Nikon can do a PF zoom lens. I don't know. That sounds extremely interesting as well. I don't know that they can, or I don't know, but man, that would be fantastic as well.
Yeah, they made a point on Nikon USA made a point of saying something about, one of the knocks on the PF lenses in the past was flare if you're shooting in the sun. And they make a point of saying in their promo video that they realigned or repositioned the PF lens in such a way that it reduced ghosting, and that there is an improvement there. So time will tell. I mean, people will have to comment on it once they have one and they get out there and use it.
Okay. Hey, Robert. Hey, thanks for dropping by, man. Appreciate you being in here, all that you shared. And again, share with us where we can find your work, man. Definitely want to see some of the things you're doing. So, but have a great day. And again, thanks for dropping in, sharing info with us. Okay, so James is talking about the Sigma 150 to 600 with a TC 1.4 at 840 millimeter. He says it's a challenge sometimes. I think he's talking about finding the subject via the narrow field of view. But I'm curious, James, to what that does for, where are you at 600 millimeter or at 840 millimeter with a TC in line? What's the aperture on that? I'm curious. And have you had any difficulty in low light with that combination? Just curious, because this kind of answers some of the questions and some of the concerns people are having with 6.3 on this 800 millimeter. I really don't see that as being terrible. I mean, the old DSLRs, you were good out to f8.
So it's only a third of a stop more than the 500 PF.
Yeah.
That's nothing. A third of a stop is nothing. And like when you were elaborating on, how people's mindsets are locked in a little bit from the olden days, oh, you got 1.8 lenses. Oh, maybe that's not good enough. 1.4, 1.2, so on and so forth. The big thing that's changed from the days when a 1.8 lens was like phenomenal for everybody, was thrilled with it. You go back, and I always like to say the old days, the good old days. But back then, if you shot over ISO 400, you were shooting film days, ISO 400. You didn't want to go over ISO 400. Everything looked like
Right.
like crap. So, I mean, what you could get away with in terms of your ISO capabilities now, whether you're at, it's not, to me anyway, whether you're at f4, f5.6, f6.3, it's not a big deal with what these cameras can do.
Yeah, I'm just going to go out on a limb and probably start a war or an argument. I'm going to say from f4 to f8, I think we're good nowadays.
Yeah.
Cameras handle ISO so much better. And again, I go back to third-party software like Topaz Denoise. And again, if you haven't tried it, prove it to yourself. Download the free version. I think you'll be exceptionally happy with what it's doing. I also got the Topaz Sharpen, which I don't even use because there is sharpening in. You could turn it on or off, but it's in Topaz Denoise. Man, it is phenomenal what it's doing. I'd like to see Nikon include that in body. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
I think that's a game changer, is to include the noise reduction AI in body. Yes, it's going to take processing power or whatever, but we don't know that they've tasked the new XSpeed 7 chip to its absolute fullest. So maybe there's room, Nikon. You can squeeze a little more juice out of that XP7 processor and throw some AI in the camera. Well, it's already in the camera with autofocus, but let's throw some noise reduction AI in there as well. Then we can crank our ISO up and we don't care. F11 at night, we're good. I don't know how you guys in the chat think or feel about that, but man. But thanks for the tidbits though, and talking about what Ricky was talking, filling me in on what Ricky was talking about. Again, I haven't seen the videos. I'm going to watch them definitely after the live stream. James, you just answered there a few minutes ago. You'd like to keep it at f8, and that's something with DSLRs. And or at least my experience with DSLRs and TCs, you're going to have to actually stop it down. You can't go with the base aperture that it gives you when you put a TC in line with an F-mount lens. My experience anyway. You're definitely going to have to stop it down, and sometimes as many as a stop and a half or maybe even more for the best rendition of the photo. So
now, sorry.
Go ahead.
One thing Ricky did say, I mean, he talked about, I know there's been conversations basically with the 400, 2.8, you put either 1.4 or 2.0 tele on it, and it's phenomenal with both of them. Ricky did make a comment on the 800 PF that the 1.4 is fine, but the 2.0 not so much.
Okay.
So there is a difference there. I sent you an email, and I am on a pre-order list for this lens now, Chuck.
Good for you, man. Congratulations.
But I tell you, what swung me was Steve Perry's video that really blew me away. Was, you think if you're at f6.3 and you're taking a picture of a bird and the background is somewhat close to it, that the background's going to be too sharp. You're not going to get that nice blurry effect.
Right.
That you would if you're shooting at f4 or f2.8. He took pictures wide open with birds, with backgrounds very, very close to the birds. And I'll tell you, the blur effect, I don't know what they did. They did some magic again.
Mm-hmm.
The blur effect at f6.3 at a bird with the background close looked absolutely phenomenal. It looked so good that I said, oh my God, okay. I was on the fence. I'm like, no, I don't want to spend the money, whatever. I saw the pictures he took with that at wide open. Uh, they were they were wonderful. It blew him away. He was
Yeah.
absolutely blown away by it, and so was I. And once I saw that, I said, well, I'm going to at least get on the list. I
Yep.
got to pay a few things off, but if I get those things covered, I want to still be on the list. I may end up bumping down one notch or two if I have to hold off an extra month or so, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it.
Well, yeah, and getting on the list is smart because you don't have to actually buy it when it happens. When it's,
Yep.
you
Yep.
know, at least you've got your spot held. A lot of people say, well, it's terrible to do, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's not. I mean, this is what you have to do. And the fact is, if you turn down the lens at some point, well, everybody's just going to move up a notch. And I don't
Yeah.
think anybody's going to complain about that. So,
Dealer doesn't get hurt at all. He's gonna have a long list, and
yeah, I could see it when you're doing it for something that's, you know, somebody might get stuck with, a dealer or a store might get stuck with. But right now, the things that we're talking about, guess what? You don't want it. I got 9 people. I got phones everywhere, people waiting for you to say no because, you know, I can sell it right now. So I don't think that's an issue. But yeah, I look forward to you getting it because, man, you're going to have to come on and tell us all about it. You know, just obviously all your feelings about how good the lens is. But going back to 800 millimeter and looking at the background, my 1:400 with a 2.0 in line at 800 millimeter, I can tell you, depending on how close the background is, it will dissolve the background. Not now, if you put that up next to the 604 or the new 400 28 TC or this 800 millimeter, yeah, it's not going to be near as good, meaning that the background for the combination that I'm talking about, the 1:400 with the TC, has to be a little bit further away than what you'll see with the 800, I'm sure. But and Bayou Josh talks about that. What are the things you need to look out for when you're out there shooting birds? Is what background, composition, this, that, whatever, and that's just part of it. But man, I actually shot something where the background was probably, I don't know, 60 feet away. And whoa, I was mesmerized by the isolation of the subject. I'm going to do a couple of photos like that with that lens just to show everybody. And I'm not going to compare it to the 800 and say that it's the same or it's as good. No, that's not the case. Or the 400 TC. No, it's not. It's not going to be as good, but it will surprise you at how good it is for the price. So just throwing that out there. Robert said, we hit the nail on the head. The new AI software will be added to our processing, but honestly, I would use this software if I was printing and posting to a website like Squarespace. Yeah, I've fallen in love with it, honestly, Robert. It definitely, I don't know. You know what? Here's what I did. I shot the photos this weekend or Saturday in the car show, and they look fine coming out of camera, especially considering they're going to go to print. But I ran them through, believe it or not, no noise, no real noticeable noise because I was shooting at 400 and 800 max. Although I should have stepped that up, I found, because I do have some blurry movements where different areas of the building were a little darker. But anyway, all that aside, I I decided to run them through denoise only for the sharpening side. And it was absolutely amazing at how it sharpens. Uh-oh. Hang on. Hang on, folks. We got a guest. Let me let him know he wants to join. And Here we go. He'll be in here in just a minute, I'm sure. All right. Anyway, ran it through denoise and was absolutely impressed. Over impressed, with what it did as far as the sharpening aspect, because it's AI. It looks for the detail and sharpens in a way that you don't get those typical artifacts and everything else. I mean, you can push it to do that too, but anyway, great. Nikon needs to put this in camera body. That's what I'm saying right now. They need to broker a deal with Topaz, just like ProRes, and put AI or Topaz denoise in the body, and then watch the people go crazy. And for those that are such purists, they won't allow that. Just have a toggle to it's on or it's off. Keep them happy. You go with your noise if you want, or you turn it on and get, the benefits. So how much would that change the ball game, especially on a 6.3 lens, right?
Yeah. Well, some people, and there's no right or wrong, because everybody's style is different. How they like to present things are different. And there are a lot of people that love to have a little bit extra grain, especially in black and white pictures.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. So you're right. Sorry, rearranging things here. It gets busy on the screen, messages and everything else. No, you're right. And you know what? I'm included in that. There are times, even in color, as crazy as it sounds, it just sometimes when there's a little bit of grain, when you luck into that, it just happens, and you think, wow, I kind of like that though. I don't know why, but that's what photography is. It's not about perfection for everyone. It's about what you like. And,
Well, it's just like using sepia or whatever to have
yeah,
that look from a picture done in the 20s or whatever.
yeah, absolutely. I was just looking at the comments over here, see if there's anything I'd missed. Man, we've been going an hour and 21 minutes, and it seems like it's just been a few minutes. Good conversation. Thanks for joining, Jeffrey.
Oh, no, thanks for having me. You put up with me, so
No,
not too many people do.
No, I see it as you put up with me, because I look at you like, hey, let's ask Jeffrey. He'll know.
No, I'm no expert.
Well, you know what? Whether you are or you aren't doesn't matter. You do have answers, and that's all that does matter. So, and I appreciate that. I'm sure everybody else does too.
I just love photography since I was a little kid, and I don't honestly care what anybody shoots. And I'll tell you, where I go, like I said, is predominantly is a state park, which is within 30 minutes of my home. And I'll bump into people that have come from New Jersey or different places and have never been there before. And I end up being like a tour guide. I take them through the whole park.
That's great.
So here's a good spot for this kind of bird. Here's a good spot for that kind of bird. Here's where you might want to go. And I'll spend 2 or 3 hours where these people are tagging along with me. And then I end up with another set of friends someone I never met before. And if they have questions on camera settings, and it doesn't have to be Nikon, lots of times they're shooting Canons. If I can help them, I help them. And we have a great time. And I love it. I mean, I'm a people person. I enjoy the company. I enjoy sharing tips and getting information from them and learning from them as well. So
so many people don't realize that they take all the fun out of it. Sharing and helping and doing all the other things is a lot of fun, especially when it's in something that you enjoy to begin with, sharing that knowledge with people. And I hope that's what we do here on the channel. And I say we on the channel because I don't know that I share anything, but I hope I bring together some folks that do. And I think I do here on the channel. I'm going to drop the number because expert versus someone that researches, the expert can't explain it to the lay folks. And I agree with that. So Jeffrey, you found your niche. You are a fantastic researcher, which is why I always ask you those crazy detailed questions. Somebody asked, well, let's ask Jeffrey. I know he'll have the answer. And I want to throw this up there because thanks, Robert. I agree. I say thank you, Jeff, also.
Well, I'm kind of nerdy. I mean, I was an engineer for a good part of my life, and so I dive into the details a little bit too much, and when I spend a lot of time just reading articles or buying books or whatever, and I'll just make myself little cheat sheets, and I'll type it on a piece of paper and put it on my computer, and I'll save it just for general information. So I have all these little files with notes I've taken from different sources that I refer to or I have in front of me or can bring up pretty quick to look at. So I don't know. I just have that interest in understanding the technology and how it works and unlike some that just, I mean, talk to talk. I mean, I shoot. I go out and I shoot a lot. So usually, if I'm talking about something, I've done it. It's not just reading off of a script. I mean, I've actually done it that way, used the camera that way, or whatever. So,
all right. So now we're going to hold you to that. And when you get that lens, you're going to have to come on again and we can share a screen and you can show us what that lens is capable of.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great for small birds. So I'll take a bunch of small bird photos with it and do minimal cropping, and we'll see how it does.
Charles Davis, got to run. I understand everybody's got to make a living or have other things to do, but thanks for dropping in. Appreciate you stopping by as always. Everybody, I always appreciate everybody stopping in, but hope you have a great day, buddy. So my other guest is, I guess he's working on joining us. We'll find out here in a minute. I think Restream's a bit different for those that don't know about Restream. Everybody initially assumes they have to download something to do this, and I will tell you that it's as simple as clicking a link, and Jeffrey can verify that, and you're on the show.
Thank you, everybody, for the kind words. I appreciate it. I'm just an average Joe, but at nighttime, I put on my Nikon hat.
They become Captain Nikon.
Captain Nikon. Dun, 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 dun. Watch out.
Captain Nikon out to prove that low light shooting can be done. Jeff, you got to run, man. Hey, Jeff and Leslie, Wildlife. Yeah, glad you guys dropped in. And again, hey, definitely join us some more. And we're going to have to get you all on the program, too, to talk about what you do. All right. What else we got? Got somebody else pinging me here. Nope, can't do that right now. Nikon wants me to watch a video. Nope, can't do that right now. All right, let me check on. Okay, we'll see. We'll see if he makes it in here. I sure hope so. Let me check something else real quick. Sorry, guys. I want to keep the momentum going here, but I would definitely like our other guest to make it in here. All right.
I just last night I got my 24-120 f4.
Okay.
So I mean, I haven't used it yet. I mean, the weather here. I mean, we had tornadoes last night in South Carolina.
Wow.
And we're getting another storm coming in this afternoon, and then I think it's raining again most of the day tomorrow as well. So we're getting an awful lot of rain. But I'm gonna divert from wildlife hopefully in the next week and do a little street photography with the 24-120 because I think that's going to be a lot of fun to use for a carry around lens.
A lot of people may say, well, it's a little big for street photography, but I've never found, I'm not a big street photographer, but go down to the city from time to time. My wife loves to go down, and I've never been concerned with how big the camera or lens is, but it seems that 24-120 is kind of a perfect street photography lens because it does give you that reach to, not be so close or to be close.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're with your spouse or whatever, and you get a nice background, you could take some great portrait shots with it, and then when you need the
Yeah.
24, when you need the wide angle, it's there. And like I said, I plan on shooting. I think I mentioned it to you maybe in a text or whatever. I plan on shooting a bunch of buildings that have murals painted on them
Yeah.
in downtown,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I'll need that 24 range at that point.
Right.
Um, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I look forward to kind of giving that lens a little bit of a acid test and see what it does.
Yeah. Well, again, you're welcome to showcase it on the show when you do that, Jeffrey. It's something I haven't done enough is we have a lot of conversation, and I love that. But maybe showcasing some work, and I got to work on that, figure out how we're going to do that here on the channel. But I'd love to get everybody else's, work showcased on the show. Maybe we do a night. I'll try to figure out how we're going to do that. We have a night where we can
Yeah.
let individuals on and just, I mean, we may have to bring some in, then move them out and bring others in. But I just like to give everybody an opportunity to showcase what they're doing with their cameras and lenses. So we'll have to figure that out and make that
Yeah.
happen. I think it'd be fun.
No, that's a lot of fun. I mean, I'm a member of the CNPA, which is the Carolina Nature Photographers Association, which is primarily North and South Carolina. And what they were doing, especially during the height of COVID, was we didn't have any in-person meetings that we would have at a restaurant every once in a while. We'd gather there and we'd have a
Right.
room set up and we could show images and things like that. But we were using Zoom a lot, and we were or even when we were doing it in person, we'd put some of our favorite images. We'd say, "Oh, take your best 5 shots and bring them with you. Put them on a thumb drive or whatever." Or we would send them to the administrator that was handling things at the club, and he would put together a slideshow, and he would say, "Okay, Jeffrey, we're going to show your pictures now," and then you would talk to them, and then you would go and you'd see somebody else's that was sitting next to you that maybe did a whole different genre. Maybe they did macro photography and they were showing what they did. And it was a blast. I mean, it was so much fun just to see what everybody else does. And it wasn't everybody that just did one particular thing. It was really, really nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure this out. I think I don't know if everybody else would like to do that or not, but I'd love to give everybody a chance to show what they're doing, and it's all about photography, and so I'm going to try to make that happen. I don't know if it would be best to have everybody send the photos to me, whether they'd like to or maybe they don't want to do that. I think it would be best if everybody could showcase their photos themselves, but that may become a kind of a techno nightmare, trying to usher people in and out and share screens and things like that. But yeah, I don't know. We'll figure it out. You guys have any ideas of what you'd like to do, or whether you'd like to do that or not? Just let me know in the comments. I just want we are photography. We're a group that talks about all this stuff, but we talk about the equipment. And so whatever you're producing, if you want to showcase it, give me some ideas and we'll make that happen. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Albert talking about the weather situation down there, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Wishing
Well,
you.
it's, you deal with it. I mean, if I'm on your show again and I say I'm talking to you from Kansas, we'll know the tornado hit.
Speaking of which, we had some weather last night. It wasn't too bad, and rain today. And before I went live, a couple of hours before I went live, we lost our internet. I'm thinking, oh no, you got to be kidding me. It did come back. I don't know if it was it was a brief interruption. I don't know if it was a planned brief interruption or whatever. So yeah, I understand what you're saying, Jeffrey. And there was a month ago, I had the same issue here with terrible weather expected. Uh-oh. All right, folks, let me introduce my next guest. Without saying a word, we're just going to put him on the screen. Mr. Frames, how are you doing?
Hello,
Hey, I'm
hello,
great.
hello.
Hello, Jeffrey. So, am I audible though?
Your audio is a bit low.
Okay, just low. Right.
Hello, Jeffrey. Good to see you in here as well.
Okay, no, so I don't
Now,
know how to fix that. I guess I'll just have to speak louder. It's fine.
okay. Jeffrey wants to know where you've been so long.
Oh, and I've been working. So, in fact, you know what? I just finished writing a presentation for an electric bike maker, and then came to join your show.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad to see you. I'm glad to see you, brother.
Yeah. How have you been? So, this is on the 800 mm, is it?
Yes, we've been all over the 800 millimeter. Everybody's excited. There are some that have some, I don't know, concerns or whatever. But yeah, so far in the chat, we've had a lot of people that come in through lunch and then they go out because they can't stay any longer. But yeah, we've had a great discussion about the 800 millimeter. What do you think about that lens?
What's the concern though? I'm interested to hear that.
Oh, it's the typical shooting low light at 6.3, and we've discussed that. Is that really an issue or whatever? But you know, as the lens gets out in the field more, not just the influencers handling it or whatever, I
Yeah.
think we're going to find that it works out just fine. At 6.3, I don't think is going to be that big a deal. But again, you share your thoughts on what you think.
So I think 6.3 is almost 5.6. So if 5.6 is great, I think 6.3 is good enough given
Yeah,
the kind of dynamic range we get right now, right? So
Yeah.
that's first. And secondly, that lens is not for more light. That lens is for better range, and to maintain the sharpness because you could use an adapter. What's it called?
TC,
Tele.
the
Yeah,
teleconverter.
teleconverter. You can use a
yeah,
teleconverter, but you lose out that image quality, right? So it's really for people who want to get that detail, and they're probably not going to shoot in low light conditions. In any case, you shouldn't be out in the wild when the sun is out, I guess.
yeah. And if you're shooting with the 400, you're going to have to put a 2x telly on that, and depending on what brand lens you're using, that may or may not be too good. And it's not going to compare to a native 800 lens by any
Yeah,
means.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And the very interesting thing was someone was talking to me very recently. He does wedding, and he's saying that a friend of his gave him the R3 and the Z9, and he used both. And he said how much better the R3 was, and he said it's still the future. And he was slightly disappointed by the Z9 in retrospect after using the R3. And I asked him, can you pinpoint what is it? What is it exactly? Is it the autofocus? Is the file quality? Is the eye detect, as in the iris detect, whatever it is? You know, so I don't think he quite knows exactly what makes the experience so much better. I think somewhere, uh, just the experience of using that camera seemed to him that it's much better. And to now look at Canon, what they're doing in the lens front, I recently saw that there is some patents have been, Canon have patented a few long lenses, which will also be shorter, if I'm not wrong. If that's true, sounds like Nikon's monopoly on wildlife. That's again in question. I don't know. I may not be making sense.
That's a good point. It almost seems like they're concentrating on wildlife at the moment with cameras and lenses. You're right.
And there was a very interesting conversation by someone called FJH Photography. So he's a decent subscriber base on YouTube, and he shoots primarily Sony, and he left the Sony ambassador program saying because he shoots portraits, his work never gets featured in the Sony page on the Sony pages. And he said all the work that I see on Sony pages right now are on wildlife or on um, uh, landscape, which to me was very interesting. It looks like all of these brands are really focusing a lot right now on expensive long lenses. Maybe they have much higher margin on them. Um, Maybe it's a market share issue. Sony has really established eye autofocus really well, so that's the next thing. I don't know. It's just interesting.
Well,
Well,
you bring
Nikon long ago said they were going to focus on the higher tier market,
and not
and
that
some would argue the DX line has suffered because of that.
and not that the manufacturers listen to the people all the time, but looking back, one of the big issues in the Nikon camp was your professionals and others weren't going to not jump ship, but go to mirrorless because they were concerned about the lack of telephoto lenses. And I mean, could this be a response to all that? Because that was a big complaint for the last couple of years. No, not jumping to mirrorless until you can fill out the telephoto line. Is that the case?
And suddenly we have this number of lenses that Nikon just launched out of nowhere. In fact, I think they have deprioritized the 85 1.2 just to get these lenses out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well,
So
that'll be the next complaint. That'll be the next excuse not to buy Nikon. Will be they don't have enough 1.2 lenses. I think a certain person, which will remain unnamed, complains about that all the time.
I'll name.
Jeffrey just said Canon RF 800 and the RF 1200 are basically an RF 400 and 600 with inbuilt teleconverters. I know a lot of people are saying that, and there's probably some truth to that. I mean, everybody's saying they just welded a teleconverter on the lens and said, "Here you go," and look at the cost. Woo, man.
Yeah.
Well, they supposedly might have added a few lens elements to it as well, but the thing is, for the price point, it's not like was a ground up design
Right.
like Nikon is doing, and I think that's what's irritating some of the Canon folks is like
Yeah.
you're kind of you gave us something, but you didn't do it from the ground up.
Yeah.
On,
Well,
on
go
yeah.
ahead. Go ahead, Frames. Hey, guys, give me a minute. Here's my typical break. I'll take a break. You guys carry on. I'll be right back.
Sure. You know,
We're
Jeffrey.
gonna time you, Chuck. We're
Yeah,
gonna
let me
time
see the time right now. Okay, I did it. So Jeffrey, I was thinking that on just its comment, the RF 800 and 1200 are basically 400 and 600 with inbuilt teleconverters. I think probably yes, but how they will be different is that the teleconverter will have a lens element, and that will be specific for that lens, whereas a general teleconverter 1.4 or 2, it's built for multiple lenses, so it's not almost like you can say it's not made for one particular lens.
Yeah, it'll be fine tuned for
Yeah,
that lens, which will be better.
correct.
And
Yes.
of course, one could say, "Gee, why didn't they get really nifty with it?" If that's true, if they just took the 400 and put a 2x in there, why not put it switchable like the Nikon with the 400 2.8 with the 1.4,
Yeah.
and either you engage it or you don't engage it, because that would definitely have been a nice little
Yeah.
twist to it.
Yeah. But yeah, exactly. Given the kind of pricing they've done for those lenses, I mean, they're expensive. I mean,
Yeah,
those lenses are expensive. I mean, we understand the price with the 400 2.8 by Nikon, but those are expensive
yeah.
lenses.
Those are cars.
Yeah, I mean, you almost don't know why you're paying that much money. You kind of understand why you're paying the money for 400 2.8, but not for the Canon lenses, I think.
No.
And And there's so is it finalized? Is the final price is 5,000 US dollars for the 800?
The 800 is US 64.99,
64.99 is
which is about less than just shy of 40% of the cost of the 800 millimeter 5.6 f mount, which is over 16 grand. So it's a bargain when you really look
yeah,
at
it
it.
is.
It's a
It is,
bargain.
yeah. Yeah, it is.
I mean,
And
most people were thinking, especially when Canon came out with their price points, they were all saying, "Oh, the 800 Nikon's going to be 12 grand, 14 grand, or more than the 400 2.8 even." And they seem to forget that the PF lens series has always been a very,
yeah,
very good price point because it's a PF design.
yeah. But I'm just curious to know, do you get some discount if you're an NPS member in the US?
I'm not NPS, but my friend is, and he does not get a discount. All he
Oh,
gets is
the
he get,
Prime.
he gets the ability to get the lens before us regular folks.
Right, right. But so I can get, if I have to write to Nikon and say, look, I'm interested. They will give me a discount of about somewhere between 10 to 20%.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, it can go up to easily 20%, 25%, 5% in some cases. So that's that.
Well, do you
Josh,
have your
no
tech? Do you
discount.
have like duty taxes and things like that where you are, where the price really gets jacked up a lot higher than what it costs in the U.S.?
Yeah, no, yeah, I think so. But the funny thing is that for Nikon, okay, and for Sony, we don't see that, but we see that a lot for Fuji. So it like in India, it makes no sense to buy Fuji. It's as expensive as a full frame camera, especially the lenses. It just makes no sense at all if you look at the pricing. I mean, all of the Nikon 1.8s are cheaper than the Fuji's F2s. Can you believe that?
Wow.
I mean, that's incredible. So, but coming to the point, I think we get the discount. So I'm just, and we see that it's dollar to Indian rupee conversion is what I see for Nikon products. So for me, I think it's not going to be 5,500 US dollars. I think it's going to be somewhere, I mean, 20% less than that, which makes me happy. I'm sorry for you. You should get that. I don't know why they have country specific like pricing and deals. It's strange.
Well, someone said someone commented, Mosman commented that NPS gives you a $300 discount on one item.
Oh,
So okay, so you'll be paying 61.99 instead of 64.99. Well, it's something. I mean, it's something.
yeah, but
I guess my friend didn't want to reveal that to me.
maybe ask him. Like,
It was like, shh, I don't want to say. I don't want to say.
I said that they'll give you a $300 discount on one item.
Okay, he's now said it's actually 10% up to $300. So it
Is
won't be. It's 10% or $300 max.
right? Except the discount comes if you pay 300 for.
Oh yeah. So
No, no, we I think we don't have that here. I think it's a different plan. So
yeah, you
uh,
don't you folks don't you guys only have one plan, one NPS level in India, or do you have
yeah,
multiple
so
tiers?
yeah, yeah. So the NPS here will have they'll kind of categorize you on the kind of photographer you are. For example, they'll have one category for filmmakers, one for uh, wedding professionals and wildlife and sports like that. So based on what you do, they'll they'll take a note of the kind of gear you have and the kind of work you do. They'll take your social media accounts and whatever else you have to share with them, and then they'll put you, hey Ryan, then they'll put you in a category, and then I guess the discounts can vary according to what category they put in. So
Okay.
I'll ask Nikon more about this. I'll
So
share what.
if you just take paper pictures of paper clips, you're not going to get a discount.
I don't know. That's a good question. But well, if I make it look gorgeous, maybe yeah. What I'm very curious to know is why Ryan is not on why he's not like regular on YouTube recently.
I guess I'll let him explain, but he's invited in here as a guest as well anytime he wants to join. He's working right now. I'm sure it's just during a break or something. Don't want to speak for you, Ryan, but yeah, you're welcome anytime. Hey, Frames, you made a video, and it was right after we had done a live stream the night before talking about uh, Nikon's next step. The two cameras that were registered and everything, and you fall right in line with where we were the night before talking about.
Really?
Yes, I mean it's almost identical to our conversation, which is great. Talking about all these different things that Nikon's up to and what we expect or what we want. But the key there is really talking about the Z8 and or Z8, depending on where you are. The Z8, I think uh, we agree on the Z8, and it's the next step forward for Nikon, and it's a must take step. We got some. Here we go. Somebody's taking over the chat with
Really?
some
But
kind.
it's coming from Ryan though, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Somebody hacked into Ryan's
Is it
feed somehow. I don't know.
or is it like he's at work, so his office system is kind of not ready? What I don't know.
it could be. It could be. Ryan, I don't know if you can hear, but yeah, something's hacked into your commenting. There we go. Short circuit. Did a Z9 review. Okay. Uh, okay. All right, Ryan. We got it. No problem. No problem, buddy. And here you go again. I need to make a phone call. I can see with my daughter, and I'll do that in just a minute. I have to take yet another break. Just took one. But anyway, back to the Z8, and then I'm going to take a break and let you guys.
Yeah.
Always a
So
troublemaker out there.
I
I
so the
let me throw this at you, and then you guys can talk about it again. Sorry, I got a lot going on. I hate. I like you guys at least put up with me during
no,
these.
please come back though and quickly.
But yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
we'll
okay.
time you again. We'll time.
Okay, it's not urgent, so I'll go ahead. So, to at least to throw my comment out there, and then it can take off in any direction you guys want to go. The Z8, I think, is imperative. There is a lack of that. That there is a gap, and we
Yeah.
need something that will compare to or compete with the R5 and the A7 IV, at least right now. And Nikon doesn't have that. And then we get into the conversation about the Z6 III, Z7 III, and I'm on board with what you said, and we talked about that. I think that the Z6 III should become a more video centric camera, and the A7 III should become the A7. What is it? 4R or whatever, a high megapixel camera, and then make
You mean the
and then
Z7?
yeah, the Z7 III becomes the high megapixel version of whatever everybody's asking for. And the Z8 needs to be the all rounder, the backup to the Z9. A Z9 with some limitations, I mean, a Z8 with some limitations, of course, but a camera that is the baby Z9 because so many people are waiting for that camera. They love the Z9. It's either not affordable or too big or whatever, and we need that $3,500 to $4,000 because
Yep.
prices are changing. Body that fits in between the Z6 and Z7 series and the Z9. And I don't think that the Z8 needs to be the 100 megapixel camera. I don't think that it should
No.
be. But you could do that with the Z7 III. Make that the high megapixel camera for everybody that wants a portrait camera and a landscape camera, and that's what that camera becomes. The Z6 version is strong in the video department, and the Z8 is the all rounder, but in a smaller body. Now, I won't throw all the specifics and, you know, specs out there, but I think in general, that's what I would like to see Nikon do. But I think the Z8 has to come first. What do you guys think?
I agree 110%. And like you said, you got that $3,800 price point where you make the body maybe a little bigger than a Z7 II, smaller than a Z9, cap. You can't. What's the saying they like to use? They talk Canon a lot. Oh, Canon's crippling they're crippling it. They don't want it to compete with another camera or compete too well with their video line. Same thing. You can't make it just a smaller Z9. You'll kill the Z9 sales. So maybe you just do. You don't do the 8K 60, that the Z9 eventually will be able to do, and you still do 8K, but you don't do 60 frames, and
No,
you
yeah,
do 14 frames a second instead of 20 frames a second. You don't do the 120 frame per second JPEG, or you do some things to dumb it
well,
down, but you still make it
you
so
know,
it's an affordable
no matter
option.
no matter what they do, people are going to complain. We know
Yep.
that,
Yep.
okay? Because they want the camera that fits in your hip pocket that does everything the Z9, Z7, Z6 do. So it has multiple sensors. You can go to a low megapixel sensor or switch to the higher megapixel sensor or whatever. Okay, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But I think if they implement, something along this line that I spoke of, you spoke of it too, Frames, it gives everybody a choice. Where do you want to be in the lineup, and what's your price point for a camera? Um, and I think they sell, like hotcakes when they do that.
So
Now, I'll be quiet and let you go. I'm curious to hear what you have to say, Frames.
no, I mean the reason I was quiet about it, I have this tendency to kind of jump into a conversation and not let the other person finish.
Yeah.
But the reason I wanted to hear you out, both of you, and before the Z9 came out, I was thinking exactly the same way that you were thinking before the Z9 came out, and I understand why you're saying what you're saying. You're saying Vagan spoke with us and Ryan Troy a long time back, about 5 6 months back, and he said that he would want a mini Z9 in the Z8. That's what he said, and it'll have to be watered down in some way or the other. The issue is, if you now let's look at the broad buckets of the Z9. What are the broad buckets? You have 8K, then you have 45 resolution, then you have very high fast burst shooting capabilities, and then the rest is really in the rest of the magic is really in the autofocus. And
Yeah.
the fifth bucket is the design of the body. Now, if you look at the autofocus, you expect that same thing to be in anything that Nikon launches after this. So the
Yep.
autofocus is not something that you would, give little less than 100% in a camera that costs a little less. You want that fully. You want all of it, all the performance. And looking at the precedents set by Fuji, Canon, Sony, all of them, in fact, we know it will be difficult for Nikon to sort of do pricing based on autofocus capability. So you like to get that bucket. You're going to get 100% of the autofocus
Yeah.
capability.
You can't go backwards now.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. We'll surely get a change in the body design. Surely. What we are left with is the video capability, speed of shooting, and megapixel. Now, if you want a slightly diluted version of the Z8, I'll tell you what my fear is. The moment you, how can I give you a reduced Z9? I come down the megapixel thing, sensor size, say from 45 megapixels. How much do I come down? Do I come down to 39, 35? It's going to be somewhere around 35, 33,
Yeah.
somewhere in the mid 30s, right? If I come down in video specs from 8K, I can come down to 6K, right? In terms of shooting speed, it's right now Z9 is right now at 20 shots a second in raw. Let's come down to 15. Now let's look at the Z6 II right now. It goes up to 14 frames per second. Now look at the Z8 idea, just the one that we just discussed, 15 frames per second, little less than Z9. Z6 II already at 14 frames. Okay, let's look at the megapixel. Nikon said that they will not use any other 24 megapixel sensor on a full frame body. That was a Z6 II was the last one. So Z6 II will have to go up. So if it goes up, let's say 30 megapixels,
Yep.
Z8 then has to be somewhere between 30 and 40. So 37 megapixels. Now let's look at video. 6K. I think if we look at a middling version of Z9 in the Z8, which will again be a premium body, all we're left with is a body style that are more backlit, better weather sealed body. Is that enough today to justify? Because the Z6 II, Z7, they're fantastic, very sturdy, strong cameras. I have literally dropped them with a 7200 in my hand. Nothing happens. I mean, I don't suggest that you drop it, but in my case, nothing happened. So that
Can you do it for us live right now?
I have it caught on camera. No, 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 don't let that. Come on. Although I have it caught on camera, I'll probably share that video someday. But if you look at the trouble at the idea of Z9, Z8, I was thinking that we should have a R5 competition. We should have a no A74 is not an R5 competition though. It's not. But A74 is essentially an upgrade from the A7III. If you look at A73, you would compete. You would say A73 competes with R6, right? So it's Sony's R6 A73 upgrades in 2022 to A74. But in the Canon system, R6 is not the same deal as a R5. So today, when you look at consumers, they are saying, "Do I go for the A74 or the R6?" The confusion is not between A74 or R5 because R5 is a different league. In that league, we have nothing, granted. But the problem is, the moment we want to put something there, it's going to ensure that the Z6 III is compromised. And that's exactly what I don't want. Because if the Z8 has to be a premium, middling resolution, quite capable video camera, hybrid camera, at 35, 6K, fast pace, which means you're not giving none of those things, any of those things, to the Z6 II and the Z6 III, and we do not want that. We do not want that because the A74 exists. Because if we have an expensive Z8 competing with an A74, but a less than A74 Z6 III trying to compete with A74, Z6 III will lose. But that expensive Z8, which beats the A74, will be now more expensive. I won't go for that.
Yeah. Well, that's where you got to say, do you come out with a Z6 III at all?
Now, I think we need to have an entry level camera that is suitable for 2023. I think what Nikon system doesn't have, which doesn't really take care of fully utilize the lenses that the Z system has, is a low megapixel, very high ISO capability video camera. Can they do an A7S4 in the Z8? Now there's a gap in that. The problem is right now there's too much crowd. If you look at the Z6, Z7 II, I'm talking about third generation, Z6 III, Z7 III, Z9. So you'll take care of 30 something, 40 something megapixel, and then 60 something megapixel. All of those are photo cameras, some or the other, and they're trying to be hybrid camera. What you do not have though, right now, is a great crop sensor camera and a great low light, low megapixel, low resolution, but very capable video camera, dedicated video camera like the A7S III. Now that to me now looks like an opportunity. I was before the Z9, I was thinking about the Z8 being this R5 competitor, but I think we've practically killed R5 with the Z9. So now and I do not know whether Nikon is ready yet to launch a fully spec video camera in the form of Z8, competing with, let's say, Panasonic's full frame bodies, which have all the video features that you can think about, professional level video features, the kind of visibility that you want, the kind of matrix you want. So yeah, I mean, that's where I am at. And I think it's confusing. So one route could be that Nikon doesn't launch a Z8. The other thing, practical thing to do is launch a video camera in the Z8.
Well,
I think
the Z8 moniker is going to be used. It has to be. Okay. And the logical application for that is going to be the baby to the Z9. So let me throw a couple of things at you and then we'll take off again. One, you're going to have limitations with the Z8 base. I mean, it will not do everything that the Z9 does just based on its size. One of those is going to be the battery life, because you're not going to have that EL18. Okay. The other is going to be heat dissipation, because you're going to have a smaller body. Okay. So it will limit itself on its own compared to the Z9. Okay.
Yeah.
The Z9 is targeted for those. Well, everybody jumped on it because of the specs and it's so great. So many people went outside their budget to get the Z9, and I understand that. Okay. That's great for Nikon. But I think thinking that the Z8 will compete with the Z9 is just foolishness right now. Okay. Those that want the Z9 got it. And yes, you may lose a few people that are on a waiting list if you bring a Z8 out with comparable features to the Z9. Yes, okay. But I don't think Nikon cares about that. It's going to be volume sales versus, selling flagships. Why everybody thinks that they're so concerned with selling all flagships is beyond me. Okay, so for a moment, for the sake of the conversation, let's say that they use the same sensor as the Z9, and the same processor as the Z9. Everything else will limit itself based on just physics, as I just brought it up. But based on that, then, how likely is it that they will do that and make that Z8, which is what, again, everybody is waiting for? They'll sell a lot of those cameras. But back to the Z6 and the Z7, make those specialty cameras.
yeah,
They will
I
be
think where it gets
limited.
confusing for me.
They won't be as capable as the Z8 or the Z9 based on their market that they're targeting. So again, we're not worried about having uh, 15 or 20 frames per second in a Z6. Let that, it's more video centric. Cater to the video crowd, which is a large segment of the audience right now. The Z7, make that the high megapixel super resolution camera for landscapes and portraits. And, Con at Grays of Westminster, he's jonesing for a 100 megapixel camera. But now you've satisfied everybody and you only have 3 bodies, because the flagship stands alone. Those that are going to buy the flagship are going to buy the flagship. But in those 3 bodies, I think that you satisfy the market with one exception. And Bayou Josh brought it up. And that is the entry level, still capable camera that will sell like the D3500 and the D5000 series. Yes, Nikon needs to find something. They have the Z5 in there, but they need to kind of make that. They need to find a way to reduce the price, make it very affordable, and have it. Well, lenses, I'm not worried about now, because whose lenses are as affordable as Nikon's right now, and they're great lenses that you could call kit lenses, but they're not. But they're affordable. So that's my thoughts. I'll let you guys take it away again.
Well,
No,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Frank.
no. Go ahead.
I think the only thing that like Chuck's saying, I think you gotta, and you implied was make the Z6 too. If you go to a Z6 III, make it video centric.
Hmm.
I think the only thing that I wonder about from an engineering standpoint is if you want, like you said, you can't go backwards. If you introduce another model, you have to have the autofocus comparable to the Z9.
Yeah, yeah,
And the question is, if the processor chips that are the Expeed 6 chips can't do it, which I really don't think they can,
hmm,
if you have to relay out a PC board to put an Expeed 7 chip in a Z6 III or a Z7 III, and you have to relay out that circuit card, and depending on what other goodies you want to put in there, the body might not be big enough in that as it currently stands. And
yeah.
then what do you do? Do you
I
still
agree with
call it
you.
a Z6 III, or do you call it a,
Well,
is that the Z8?
I agree with you, and I'll throw this in, then let Frames respond because I know he's chomping at the bit. It's a good conversation. I think that the XP 7 processor is the standard from this moment forward. Other than the more affordable options in maybe the Z5 and the Z50 and whatever. But I think that it's just going to be standard. It has to be standard in the Z6 series and the Z7 series. Those will be prosumer cameras, hence the price difference between the entry level full frame or full sensor camera. And again, now I will back out and let you guys go at it. Frames, you're up.
I was just going to say that, if you look at Apple's design recently, what they're doing essentially is that they have the full board, and they just, leave a few spaces vacant, or, just take out a few cores, but you essentially have the same architecture, same capability. You reduce a few GPU cores and a few whatever, CPU cores, and then you have a slightly more, affordable version of the same chip. So I think while it is going to be Xpeed 7, I don't know if they're going to make it full spec for all the cameras. They probably won't. And that's, I think, is a standard practice, which is, I mean, because you also have a much, I think the OS will also be lighter. I think you won't have as many features. So you'll probably, Nikon will probably get away by, with, by doing that, without affecting the performance. That's just one thing that comes to my mind. But I still think that, if oftentimes I was just, I'll just bring in an example which is completely different. Okay, so, and it's from work, but just bear with me. We so a few years back we were launching a car brand in India. Okay, and it's called MG Motor. So it's an English car brand, long time back. um, I don't know if you're aware of it. It used to be called Oxford Morris. Anyway, so when they were launching it, they said, "Look, the country has got so many established brands, and we are just coming in new. How do you do it?" And we told them that you have to completely change the dimension. You can't be incrementally better at everything. You have to bring in a new dimension to the auto conversation in the country. So the new dimension could be that you mature, actually take leadership in maturing EV, or you take leadership in maturing connected vehicles, or automation. So when you do those, you do a complete shift from this side to that side. You have to make that large shift. I think in Nikon's context right now, if they are going to overcrowd the 30 to 60 megapixel range with many cameras, I think then they'll lose out on the potential of opening up a complete new market, which to me is the video market. Now, once they have a full frame, great, dedicated video camera where they put in all their heart and soul to make as good a camera as they can make on the video front with everything that they have, right? Once they've cracked that, then you create mini versions of that. And tomorrow you're not going to compete with the A6400 from Sony. You're going to compete with a much more powerful beast of a camera with when Sony comes up with the next crop sensor cameras. So are we ready for that? So once we have a platform like that, Z9, imagine Z9 repurposed for video and only that and nothing else. Then you create mini versions of that for the crop sensor market. Then you have, because if you look at the market right now, what is the market? The market is YouTube and content creators. Photography as a business is going down. Video creators as content creators is going up, and more companies will have in-house advertising agencies. In-house, they don't hire an agency from outside or a production house from outside. They have their in-house production capability. That they are buying cameras. Whether you talk about startups or mid-sized companies or large-sized companies, everyone is making videos. So that's the market. For that market, what the Nikon has nothing. So, and they need to have a plan for that. It's not just about one. In my view, it's not just about one camera. It's to have an overall an architect, at an architecture level thinking, where you basically look at the entire spectrum of your product portfolio and see what is the market that I'm not tapping into at all, and how do I do that. Having said that, I think we'll all be very happy if we have more options in that 30 to 60 megapixel range. The more options for us, the better.
Right.
But I don't know if that's the right for Nikon to do, is all I'm saying.
There's a lot of talk on the chat here about an entry level camera. Yeah, people can afford, and although I think it's a little long in the tooth, Canon has one that's $900, and I guess goes on sale sometimes for $800 for the body. And I remember at one time they were talking about a Z30, which you don't hear anything about that anymore. And I mean, that's also something I think that TMID or someone's commented on, having something entry level to draw people into the Z system. And so what's the likelihood? What do you feel frames the likelihood that they're going to come out with something that they can sell for less than $1,000 with a kit lens on it? Because I think right now the cheapest is and I'm talking with a full frame sensor, not a crop. I mean, because right now your cheapest is the Z5, which is $1,300.
Let me add a parameter to that before you actually comment, Frames. It needs to be an entry price when it's announced, not a discount price where people have to wait.
Exactly.
So that said, also, hybrid cameras are the thing right now. And we're talking about the bridge from stills to video. And a lot of people, the old timers, are still fighting that. They would prefer Nikon never did video again. Okay. Sorry, that's not going to be the case. So hybrid cameras are the standard right now. Those are the cameras that are selling. And that is the bridge to where some people would like to see Nikon go into a full video or cine camera. Okay. And Jaspreet's been preaching that for a long time. Jaspreet, is just not going to happen right now that I can see. But the performance of the hybrids that Nikon has right now is pretty good. And they're leading the way in just with internal recording is huge. And again, everybody's going to get on that train here soon. Canon's going to do it. Sony's going to do it. You can bet your butt. But Nikon has they're the leader right now on that front. And again, we go back to then Nikon needs to carry that forward as soon as they can, grab as much of the market share they can, because that builds the base for consumers in the Nikon brand. So hybrids, a must right now. So I'll stop and let you guys take it again.
So Mossman says something very interesting. He says that you can't compete in every single market and price range, which
That's
is
right.
probably true given the size of the company. It's probably not a problem for Canon because they have a much bigger production capacity. When it comes to Nikon, probably that's a reality. I mean, they could be limited by how much they can make, how many bodies they can make. So, but at the same time, I remember there was a time when the D3300, 3500, and 5600, 55, those cameras, they were in the top five, and they were selling like truckloads of them. But then back then they were making them in the Japanese factories, and they have closed down those factories. They have shuffled all of it. They've sort of made new. I mean, they've gone to Thailand. So we do not know whether they're anticipating production at that level anytime soon. So they may not have accounted for a 5600 level of success. And if they have not, then they'll have to make more money out of every unit they sell, and they'll go towards making more expensive bodies for at least the coming
Yeah.
2 years, 3 years. And when they're making a lot of money per unit, because they're making only the more expensive bodies, and when they're stabilized, let's say they've crept back in market share back to 20% from the right now, I think 14, 15%. So 20% and above, then they may start looking at the crop market again. I mean, I'm just looking at it.
Yeah. I mean, what the consumer wants from Nikon and what Nikon might be planning to do could be totally different.
Yeah,
I mean, they may say, well, we can only dilute the brand so much. Or we don't make enough profit margin on an $800 camera. Or they just decide we just don't want that. We don't care for that market. We're willing to give up that market. And I think that's a big mistake personally. But at some point, like you said, if truly they're not going to be like Sony. I think has too many model numbers, to be honest with you. I think they have way too much product.
Somebody made that comment earlier. Yeah.
I think it's crazy, and I don't think Nikon wants to get to that point, and I don't
yeah,
know that they could support that many camera bodies. Just
yeah,
make sure whatever you make is top notch and the quality is impeccable, and
yeah,
you will do well. You don't have to have 10 or 15 bodies. Just have six really really good ones.
I'm going to throw this up here real quick. Excuse me. Josh makes a great comment here. Great point. But I don't think, how am I going to say this? I don't want Nikon to do it for the sake of market share. Build a camera that Josh has described here. I think that's a fantastic idea.
yeah,
But the reason for it is not for market share. It's for entry level shooters that want to invest in a brand. And I think that's what Nikon has to concentrate on. How do they get new shooters to invest in Nikon? And Nikon needs a camera that will do that and give them enough to whet their appetite and then maybe move up. Um, I don't know whether is this the chicken comes first or the egg? Um, and what I mean by that is, um, you need a robust system to move into. You need a capable system, and people have to have confidence in the fact that, okay, if I'm going to invest in this camera, what's the future look like? Where am I going after I leave this body that is on the screen right now? So, which comes first, building out the team or building the bench? Meaning, do you do this affordable camera right away, or do you get the Z6 III, Z6 or Z7III, and Z8 in order or in production first, so people know, wow, I can start out with this entry level that's still very capable and it fits my needs because it doesn't take a lot to uh, edit and produce content with it and everything else. And it suits my needs in that the video is good, which would be fantastic for YouTube or whatever else they want to do. And then they know they can invest in Nikon and move up. I don't know. What do you guys think? Which comes first?
yeah. You know what, Jeffrey? One thing that I was just reading the comments, and I think what Jasprit is saying makes a lot of sense. He's saying that you can have with NRAW now, you can have 10 bit with the same level of data using the same amount of data, as the Z6 and Z62 and the Z5s are using to produce an 8-bit file. That itself is game changing. So, and if that's possible, then I don't know why they really can't make that maybe $900 crop sensor camera with 10-bit. I mean, just the same thing as Bayu Josh was talking about, instead of 8-bit, 10-bit. And then you do what you're saying, Chuck, I think. Very
Yeah.
convincing. They have a
We can discuss specs all day long, and you're right. There may be a good argument there. Why even do 8-bit? Why not 10-bit if it's not going to be any different? But I think his point too is on post-production capability. 8-bit is simple, it's easy, it works. So Jesprit, we're not talking about the guy that's trying to, be a movie maker with this camera. This is just to get them in the system, and they aspire to more capability for their video making or whatever. And I don't think that hurts at all. It may seem like, well, it's a dumbed down camera. Well, of course it is. It is, because we want people to at least investigate Nikon. And once they find that, wow, if this is good, how much better will the next level be? So that's, again, my thoughts. And
well, the old saying used to be is you invest in the lenses for life. Don't skimp on the lenses. If you're going to skimp somewhere, get a little bit cheaper body, but make sure you have the best
we've
glass.
been preaching
right?
that for years. But you know what? People are chasing bodies now, and that's the way it is. So I'm not going to preach that to anybody. They'll buy lenses as they can, But you're right, Jeffrey. But where are all my DSLR lenses right now? They're no longer investments for life. So one can make the argument that anything can change. Oh.
The problem is, Chuck, you get the itch. You get the itch. That's the problem.
Yeah. But I'm in agreement with Bayou Josh. I'm in agreement with Photo Me Ike. That's who brought it up. Nikon does need that hook camera, and I'll just use that phrase, a hook camera, that everybody is happy to shoot initially, but leaves them lacking and it makes them want to move up. But if you don't have anything to aspire to, the hook camera is worthless. And Nikon needs to establish themselves as a brand to invest in for mirrorless. We're done. DSLR days are gone.
I think then you're talking about is maybe Z50 Mark II.
Okay.
Maybe something like that. Within $1,000 with the kit lens. I'm not sure if $800 will be possible, because then you'll probably have to lose the EVF.
Yeah, $1,000 with a kit lens would be
excellent point. Excellent point, Frames. You know what? For those that are entering, I don't think they care about that EVF anymore. Everybody's shooting like this.
Well, they're shooting with their phones now anyway.
So I don't know. Maybe that's a compromise you make.
They're doing this.
Yeah.
Wait till you shoot with a long lens.
No. I'm talking about entry level. Okay, this entry level camera.
They'll give you a 50 to 250 lens, right? So the 250 is 375 equivalent. It's pretty long. And you'll see a lot of, if you hold it like this, you're going to exaggerate all the movement in your body.
You're right. But I think that you talked about it. So let's carry on where you were going. What's going to be the press or the most important thing to the new shooters? Stills or video?
I think it's going to be video.
Okay. So is an EVF necessary as an entry-level shooter for video? Is it necessary?
No, they're not. But at the same time, it will be a camera, so they will shoot as well, and so shoot photos as well. And when they shoot photos, I think you're talking about, you want a camera that makes them happy, but leaves them slightly unsatisfied.
Yes.
Right? So they move on.
Yes.
So if they don't taste what a great experience it is to look through the EVF and shoot. I mean, it's a different experience than to shoot through the screen. It's different, and
Hmm.
EVF is gorgeous. So I think that's going to do that job. I mean, it doesn't need to be a very large EVF. It can be a small one as well. I think it's about how they manage that EVF space for that. If you look at the A7C, they've used an entry level, the basic, very basic EVF, but still there.
Well,
I mean,
is it Canon? Is it Canon that's talking about having a camera with a EVF as an option,
Yes, that works too.
yeah,
right?
they already have that. Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah.
already have that. I think uh, M6 Mark II or something like that. If I'm not wrong. I think it's M6 Mark II. Yeah. So they already have that.
Yeah.
Ray asked, didn't they try that with the Nikon One? Yeah, but that's a different animal. I don't think we're talking about the same type. Although the Nikon One series, I think, was fantastic. You know, nobody was ready for that. I think that's the biggest problem. I think the DF models that they talked about looked fantastic, and that probably should have been where they went. But for whatever reason, Nikon decided to not do the DF. You remember those three models they had, fixed lens, that had some great
Right.
capability? Yeah, that I think that was a missed opportunity for Nikon,
You're talking about
personally.
the those large zooming and the P900, P950, P1000, B700. Those bodies.
No, no, the DF was a small pocket size camera, maybe a little bit larger, that had some great capabilities. And there were three versions of it. It was a fixed lens, uh, DL. Okay, Hassan, thank you very much.
Right. Right.
I'm stupid here. The DL series, yes. I mean, I think that was a missed opportunity because that would have launched them into the mirrorless a lot faster, I think.
Yeah. Do we know what happened? What went wrong with
No
that?
idea. But again, just like Hassan said, a new
Drop
DL would be awesome. There'd be people that would buy that now.
or ZL, maybe. Yeah.
Hey, Bayou Josh, hey, thanks for dropping in, man. Yeah, it is a great conversation, and you got to get back in here with us one night, and we're going to rehash this, as you know, until Nikon does something. So,
Okay, before I forget, I must say, it's, I mean, I've been trying for such a long time to join the show, and I'd like, you know what happened last time? I actually joined, then realized you've already ended the show. So I called Bhavan. I asked him, nice to call you again. I said, again? Have I done this again? So I'm calling Bhavan. He said, bro, he has already, he's done. He's done for the day.
Frames, it doesn't matter, man. You're here, and again, you're invited in here anytime, just like so many others. And I hope you're enjoying it because
Yeah, it's lovely. I mean, I'm meeting Jeffrey for the first time, though, Jeffrey. So I'm,
Yeah,
uh,
I've watched a lot of your videos and I enjoy them very much. It's an honor to even be on the same screen with you.
yeah. Oh, now I remember you then. Now I remember you. Yes, you. I've seen we have interacted in the comment section, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I don't know if I was on Vahagen's show once, and
Oh,
Chuck's been kind enough to put up with me at least 3 or 4 times. So I
oh
think I got to send him a check.
no, no, Jeffrey, you bring something I can't bring to the show, and that is specs, man. You're so good at being meticulous on the manual and everything else, and I do appreciate that. I really do. Muzz, man, hey, sorry you got to go, buddy, but thanks for jumping in. We'll see you in the next one.
I have a meeting to prep for. I mean, it's the busy time there, right? It's what time is it there?
It is on the East Coast. It's 2:33 p.m. So on the West Coast, it's 11:33.
Just after lunch.
Yep.
Yeah. So, there's one thing though I'd like to respond to, and just Preet's been talking about. He's saying that the A74 is way ahead of the Z62 and all that. The Z62 can't compete. Well, I so I've been using both of them. I mean, it depends on the lenses you're using really. Fuse the 2.8s on the Z62 I mean, my experience are fantastic. It really competes with A7 IV very well, very well. And I think it's only about the autofocus. Everything else, I don't know how Sony is better, except the video specs, of course, because Sony has
No,
10 bit.
it's only sport. It's only sports and wildlife. And to be honest with you, what percentage? If you took everybody in the world that took pictures, what percentage are serious sports and wildlife shooters?
Very, very,
Very,
very.
very small percent of us crazy people. Like,
Yeah.
not a lot. I
Yeah,
mean,
and that's a very expensive hobby too.
yeah.
Therefore, just by that alone, it restricts a lot of. There's a huge entry barrier to wildlife shooting.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just looking for, I want to take pictures of the kid's dance recital. I want to get my kid kicking the soccer ball when he joins the soccer league. I want to take some nice pictures when I go on a trip.
Yeah.
The Z6 series, the Z7 series are outstanding. There's nothing wrong with them at all, but because they can't do something that a very small percentage of us does, they get beat to death for it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. But while shooting, I always enjoy using. I mean, so I was shooting and there was a few friends with me, and I gave them my A7 IV and the Z6 II, and so after shooting for a while, so when they looked at the camera, they all reached out for the Fuji XC4 because it's so beautiful to look at. But then I said, okay, look, ignore that because it's a little in the evening, during the evening, so you need high ISO. Full frame cameras will be better. So I said, let's use the Sony and the Nikon. So after like 15 minutes, everyone just reached out for the Nikon and said, I want to shoot with that camera because what I see back of the screen is amazing. And when you look at the pictures, the output, I mean, it doesn't inspire you when you shoot with the Sony, because the quality of the output at that moment live, it kind of is a sort of a letdown at times. But the Nikon colors, the way this render skin, I mean, it's just amazing. It just the experience is better. You feel more confident while shooting.
Yeah, the color science is much better, I think, and the
Beautiful.
ergonomics are top notch.
Yeah,
And
Well, it's hard to argue ergonomics because you're not gonna win that battle with somebody that is a Sony shooter or a Canon shooter. Not many of them anyway, because they are used to what they're using. So the ergonomics of Nikon isn't as good. It's always the menu system on Nikon's no good. As a Nikon shooter, I can say that the menu system on the Canon is frustrating. It's not. There are no problems with any of them. They're just all different, and it's what
yeah,
you learn
yeah,
that becomes great ergonomics for you. So that's a hard one, but people don't understand that. And I say this, and I've touched some Canon, but not a Sony. Um, but the point is that it's what you get used to. It's not one's better than the other. At least my belief. It's just what you're used to because you're going to find fault in any one of the menu systems or button layout or whatever. Not one is perfect. So that's a hard one to argue with
yeah.
people. I don't
Well, I
even
mean, holding the
attempt it.
camera though. I mean,
I agree.
I held a lot of Sony cameras. I mean, all of them, and the
Mm,
A1's the only one that I could hold and say that ain't bad. The other
mm.
Sony cameras, if I curled my finger around the grip, the gap between the lens
No,
body and the grip, it was too tight. It wasn't wide enough.
and it's
I just couldn't do it.
I'll tell people if they ask, well, what camera? You shoot Nikon. What's the best camera? Well, that's a bad question to ask anyway. They're all best. Okay. It just depends on what you're holding.
Yeah.
But we don't have the camera stores like we used to, where you can go to the store and hold each one of them. But I'll tell people that if you really want to know the best camera, you need to hold each one of them because one of them will speak to you. Don't listen to all the talking heads. Don't listen to all your friends. Pick them up and hold it. And whatever one feels the best, because you're not going to go wrong with any brand. Would you agree?
No, no.
So
Yeah,
just hold it. The
you
feel
know,
of the camera will tell you this is what I like. This is what I want.
like you're
Now,
saying, Chuck, most of the camera stores, if you go, you have to buy the camera in order to hold it, and I think that's a shame. And they should have display units. I don't know why they don't have enough of them. It's just crazy.
No, it's really critical to hold the camera. I mean, I had
Yeah.
and the menu system, like Chuck says, I don't get hung up on the menu system. I've had Nikon for 2 decades, and I bought a Panasonic Lumix Micro Four Thirds mirrorless camera for a travel camera with two kit lenses and a travel camera. It took great pictures. I liked the picture quality, but I ended up getting rid of it because I didn't use it often enough, and changing menu systems just drove me nuts. And I'd have to look through the manual before I used it because it wasn't natural to me like the Nikon menu system is. So
yeah.
it isn't that it's bad. It isn't that it takes bad pictures.
Hmm.
When you just get used to a certain brand,
Hmm.
Then
it's
that's the
not a
best.
problem. It's not a
Yeah,
problem.
that's the best
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Hey, Frames, I just want to say thanks for coming on. And Jeffrey, thank you for coming on. I don't know. I'm going to have to go here. Not right now, but it isn't going to be long. And I just want to acknowledge it while we've got some folks in here. I enjoyed this. I think they enjoy it. And I think it's best. When I host it myself, I interact as much as I can, but it's so much nicer to have you guys in here and watch the chat. I'm really enjoying the chat room. There's a lot of great comments. And yeah, Jaspreet, brother, you can fill a chat up. I love you though, man. And I always enjoy you being here. We may not see totally eye to eye on things. And I know you're chomping at the bit for Nikon to go full video. I get that, but it's just not going to happen at the moment. But keep plugging away with your comments, what you want, because I've got to believe somehow, some way, Nikon keeps their finger on the pulse at what goes on out here in chats like this, and maybe you're going to make some headway there. But I'm behind you on the. I want a little more robust video, and it looks like Nikon is responding to that. So I can't complain and say I've given up on it. But you keep plugging at it, man, and I love you having you in here in the chat room. All right, back to
I
the conversation.
I'd like to say it's been great uh, having Frames on. I'm just curious, what are your upcoming projects? What are you getting ready to dive into?
On the channel.
In general, just in your with your career, what direction are you going? What
So it's a very interesting question. I mean, I've been watching a few like nascent YouTubers and photographers, and I'm just looking at them and seeing that how life is like pulling them from different directions. They're saying, "Okay, I want to just do storytelling and do YouTubing on do filmmaking or go full time into photography, but I just find it difficult. So I have to go back to working, and it's like it's very difficult for me because the kind of job I do, it's mentally exhausting. You have to put in your 1,000%. You can't be half-hearted and do that. So what I'm realizing is that for all of us, it's a matter of really making a solid decision for yourself and really be able to
Mm-hmm.
stick. And once I realized that, I was about to just say that, fuck, sorry, fuck it, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave the job. I said, listen, I'm going to leave. They said, no, they said, stay back, give us a few months because it's difficult to get, attrition rates are very high and all that. So I said, okay, fine, I'll give you some time. But during that period when I was thinking, what should I do? What's a plan? What makes me happy? And I realized that if work is not making me happy, just constantly talking about spec on the channel is not making me happy either. So if you see, there's a gap for about 2 months where I really didn't do much. But what I did was I really went out and shot a lot, and I just enjoyed it. I just loved the experience. I have on my timeline video editing software in DaVinci Resolve timeline. I have so many projects lined up, and all of them are about just stories, just pictures and stories and experiences using different camera, being in different situations, seeing people and their lives in front of me. And I think if you ask me what do I want to do, I want to create more of that kind of content. But the funny thing is that, see, if you watch it, you love it, but people don't want to click on that because it's just. I mean, look at. I mean, in a way, Beu Josh is inspiring to me because I think he's been able to kind of do it such a way that he really does storytelling, not too much of gear talk.
Yeah.
But if you look at his views and engagement, it's very high. People appreciate what he's doing. So I realize that it's not an easy thing to do at all because maybe his style of storytelling really works with the audience, but my stories may not have a sort of my taste may be different, and maybe 2% will like it and not 80%. But what Josh is doing is wonderful because I think he knows exactly what people want to feel emotionally, and he's taking them through that sort of that ride. So I think I want to what I'm trying to understand is how to do that, and then I have to find my own answer for that, which is not easy at all. Which means I need to talk to more people, understand myself better, and understand what I. Thank you, Siski. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. So I'm a confused mess right now, to be honest. And it's about. So I'm 37. I recently got married. Do I prioritize money? And money is important. She doesn't care if I work or not, and I can tell you it's very rare for you to have a woman, a partner who doesn't care if you are working or not. It's very rare, right? She doesn't care. She works herself. She said, "Look, just do what makes you happy." And the thing is, right now I've been doing this. I'm in advertising. It itself is a very interesting job. And I don't know if I really want to leave that, and I don't know if I really want to not leave it and not do YouTube full time and just immerse myself in this. So yeah, I don't know, maybe you give some ideas. You've been 37 some back, so maybe you know what the right decision.
37 for me was a long, long time ago.
I'm sure you remember something. Help me out.
I remember I was smart enough to not do what I did when I was 17.
Sorry, you were what?
I says when I was 37, I was smart enough to not do what I did when I was 17.
Oh, okay. And okay, I see. Right.
But well, what if you like? I mean, I think if you gave up either one completely, you probably wouldn't feel right. Uh, do you focus on doing content, telling a story like you said you want to do? Do you focus on doing something like that and just doing it once once every 2 weeks or something like that? And you rather than putting out quantity and doing a lot of gear talk, which gear talk can be fun too. Unfortunately, it seems like gear talk, especially if it's controversial talk, it gets a lot more views for whatever reason. But like Chuck has a great channel. Everybody is comfortable with each other. You share your thoughts. No one's gonna bash you down. It's really really nice.
Yeah.
And Bayou Josh, like you said, I can watch his videos all day
Yeah.
because he shares his
Very.
life with you. His wife is involved with what he does. She's now getting active with picture taking, and it's just a great story. And it's not all about gear. I mean, he does do a little more gear talk now than he used to, but that's fine. But his stories are great, and I think it's just more quality and then quantity, and keep your toe dipped in the water, because I think you'll be sad if you walk away.
Frames, whatever content you produce, it's your peaceful delivery that I think people like. And it doesn't matter what you're going to deliver to the audience. I think everybody just enjoys hearing you talk about it. And showing passion from time to time is fantastic, you know. It shows that you're real. You're a human being. I can't tell you what you should do. You should just enjoy whatever it is you're doing. The only
Yeah.
thing I keep myself from is I don't want this channel to become political or anything like that. There are so many channels and the media and everything else out there that covers that. Anybody can go there and get their fill. I
Yeah.
want this channel to be just fun photography, a bunch of photographers getting together and just chatting about everything, just as we have, speculating, throwing opinions out there. So, whatever you do, you know, I think it's really your delivery, because a lot of what you're talking about Bayou Josh is his delivery. And people tune in for that as much as they do content, I think sometimes.
I'm really enjoying the comment section right now. Uh, very-
Yeah.
it's starting with Albert, who said that it simply shows you've got a lot going on in your thoughts, which is preferable than having nothing. I agree, and I really like what you said, Jeffrey, because I think just doing the one thing, interesting, because when I do A, I also bring some of that into doing B. When I'm doing B, right, I bring some of that, right, some of that learning, some of that inspiration. So there's a little bit of cross pollination, if you can say that. So I think there's a lot of merit in what you said, and probably I just need to just balance it more instead of just doing completely dedicating myself in one thing and forgetting the rest of it. I think that's what life is about. I'm just the art of balancing it right, which can be very difficult and confusing. And Chuck, I think you're right. I think I'm not aware of or conscious of my own deliveries. I think it's something that I have to go back and understand, um, and really understand what you're talking about. I think as a creator, I find everything that I do is I don't like it. So
Oh, yeah, we're all perfectionists. And my wife gets on me all the time. I'll say, "How do you like this?" "Oh, that's fantastic." "No, it's not. I got to adjust this or do that." That's what
exactly,
creators are about. We're
yeah,
never satisfied with what we've
yeah,
done.
constantly self doubting ourselves. But you know what? Gear talk. The funny thing is that people enjoy that a lot, and I enjoy that a lot. But I don't enjoy talking about it. I really love hearing, because it's a lot of analysis, a lot of information, and all that, right? But I like it when someone serves that to me. I don't want to go through all that pain of analyzing, writing it down, just researching and all that. That's a lot of work. But yeah, people love it.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you take a photo on Monday of an eagle, and you say, "Gee, that's the best eagle shot I ever got." And then the way I am anyway, I say, "But I can do better."
Yeah.
That's not going to be my best eagle shot I ever took.
No, but that's
There's going to
just
be
positive. That's
I
just
just
positive.
want to get better and get something better every time,
Yeah. But
which
that I
drives
think
me
that
nuts, because it's like I can never be happy with what I got, which other people say, "Oh, that's great. I like it." And I go, "Well, always find something to pick about."
so, I'm just curious. So how do you travel? How frequently do you travel? Is there a place that you can go to nearby where you can just go and shoot wildlife, or do
Oh
you have to
yeah, I'm
travel?
I'm 30 minutes away from a thank God, I'm 30 minutes away from a state park that
Thank
has
God.
three bodies of water. It has a marsh that's all
Wow.
salt water. It has brackish on the other side of the road, and then if you walk down to the other end of the park, you have fresh water. So you have the gators living in the fresh water. They literally
Wow.
walk across the sidewalk. They go into the brackish side. They swim out. They walk across another sidewalk, and they go into the salt water. So you get them getting the blue crabs or whatever in the saltwater side and hanging out there. And then the tide gets low. They go to the brackish side for most of the day, and then at night they go back to the freshwater side, and so
And
you
you
have
like,
all wildlife, different kinds of wildlife, all in the same place because some like the salt water, some like the brackish water, and some like the fresh water. So you get everything, and it's only 30 minutes away from the house. I can't ask for anything better than that. It's great.
that's wonderful. What about you, Chuck? Do you have to
I
travel?
have a waterfowl refuge behind my house, and while every year it's been fantastic, for some reason this year all the birds, ducks, and everything seem to be missing. I don't know what's going on, uh, but the weather's been kind of crazy here. We've had winters tried to hang on. We're just now really getting decent weather, so I have that just for my own peace of mind. That's where I go and you could almost say meditate. I sit back there with my camera on the gimbal, the lens on the gimbal, and I may spend 3 hours. I might get a picture, might get a dozen, or I might get nothing. And either way, it's enjoyable. It's my way to kind of just take a break from
Yeah,
reality.
it's meditative.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. I guess so. I have to travel a lot of kilometers or miles to reach a place like that. But then I guess you can always, if you know enough, you'll always find out a place where you can see some interesting, beautiful animals, birds.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
I do.
probably.
I shoot for friends at times, like I just recently did, shooting a car event for him. And that's just, you know what, whether and people may say, well, why would you do that? Or I don't care about that. And I can understand that. But the thing is it keeps me fresh with the camera, especially with the Z9 being new. I'm continually experimenting with things in the camera, and it's just fun to get out and shoot. And if it makes somebody happy, then that's part of the reason I like photography.
Hey, what do you think about the raw files on the Z9 compared to the other Z40s?
I funny you should mention that. So you haven't been into several of my live streams. I shoot JPEG, and I'm having
Oh,
shirts made.
that's wonderful. I think you're smart. That's what you should.
I shoot JPEG and RAW, and I sometimes do grab the RAW versus the JPEG if it's something that I think the RAW can handle better. And I'm not going to argue with everybody on JPEG and RAW. Uh, there are people that will only shoot RAW, and I think that's great. But for what I do and how I present it, JPEG works fine for me, and I don't have to deal with the raw files. But
Yeah.
I do capture them. So
So on that, I think making everything sort of turning everything to a rule is not required really. Just like
that's the
so,
great thing about live. We are live. No problem, Jeffrey.
so I'm just saying that I think it makes a lot of sense to shoot in JPEG, especially if you're using Fine Star, and especially if you're shooting Nikon. Because let me tell you, when I shoot Sony, it's frustrating to shoot in JPEGs. It just I can't. I have to shoot in RAW. It's absolutely important to shoot in RAW because I'm using Sony at times, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to Nikon, I don't care. And I just have to do a small tweaks to the file, and that's about it. And I think it's for JPEGs. They've got pretty good dynamic range as well. It's not too bad.
Yeah, and you know what? If it's something that requires heavy lifting as far as dynamic range goes, yeah, I'm all for okay, especially to prevent the banding and sunsets and things like that in the background and the sky. You always have that banding that you see. In a JPEG, you're right. But you know what? The colors in the JPEGs, I'm happy with. It saves me an incredible amount of time and editing. Yeah, I'm happy with it. And I would never tell somebody don't shoot raw. No, if you want to, feel you need to, or whatever, and there are benefits to RAW, but for what I do, I don't find the benefits outweigh the ease of just using the JPEG. So,
Yeah, yeah. Especially when you have Nikon JPEGs, and I mean, I understand why Sony shooters only shoot RAW.
mhm.
Well, it's nice not to deal with all those large files.
Yeah,
Yes,
but if you
yes,
shoot Sony, I mean, Jeffrey, I don't know, you've used Sony, right? I feel I can't look at those pictures. I mean, in JPEG, they're bad.
yeah.
It just it needs a lot of work. So JPEGs are useless for me. So I have to shoot in RAW when I'm using the Sony. For Nikon, it's not the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, if people had like you were saying before, the problem is there's not enough camera stores. They don't have demo units out for people to touch, and then unfortunately, you do get some places, and I'll just talk not a dedicated camera store, but let's say a Best Buy or some retailer that sells cameras is lots of times, they're pushing a certain brand all the
Mm.
time. They're not neutral.
Yeah,
They,
Jeffrey, so you know, we lost most of our independent camera stores, probably what, Jeffrey, as early as 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago, even they began to dwindle. But
yeah,
they're not non-existent. They're just so few of them. So we have big box stores, and I don't know how familiar you are with, Best Buy is a big box store, electronics store, and they're everywhere all over the U.S. And they do carry cameras and lenses, but it's only the very entry level typically that they have showcased. You can order a Z9 from Best Buy, but they don't have it on display out in
Yeah,
the store where you can put your hands on it or anything like that. So we're limited, and it's so difficult because, again, if I'd love for people to be able to handle cameras before they buy it, but we just don't have that ability anymore. So what does everybody rely on? Influencers. And that's why influencers have taken on a big role
yeah.
in selling cameras.
But you can still can't touch it though.
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm not going to pick on a brand, but I'm just going to say with Sony, they just have such their marketing, their products have such a wide audience beyond
hmm.
cameras that
Yeah,
someone mentions their name. I mean, everybody knows who they are. By the time they're 2 years old, they're probably got an iPhone. They probably have a PlayStation in their house or whatever. Uh, and it's just they just have that name recognition more, and
Yes.
people grow up with whether it was Walkmans in the day or whatever, and so the youngsters kind of gravitate towards that because they have so many other Sony products that have nothing to do with cameras. They just assume, well, they make a good video game, so they must make a very good camera. But it's too
so
bad. They don't expand their vision to look at everybody else.
I'll share something interesting here, and after that I'll reply to Albert. Sorry, excuse me. So, so I was shooting, and then there was a young couple, college kids, and the guy came up to me and said, "Hey, can you take a few pictures of us on the bike? And here's our phone. My phone. Here's my phone. He'll give me his phone." I said, "Hey, look, I have a camera. Why don't I? Why don't you just go there? I'll shoot with my camera, and I'll send you the files." So, and I was shooting, and after that, I showed him the picture. He said, "Oh, you have a Sony Alpha." He called it Alpha. My God, it's my dream to own an Alpha. He said, right? I was thinking, so he knows, he's aware that it's called Alpha. He knows the mount name. So I was under the impression that people only know the fact that there is a Sony camera. But I think the camera line is well known among youngsters. And there this, he was almost lusting. It sounds like he's going to take my camera from me. He's just lusting. I said, why are you so fascinated with Sony? He said, no, I've heard big things about Alpha cameras. They're fantastic. All my best YouTubers use Sony. He took a few names and all that happened. So brand power, you see. I mean, and there's something to learn from Sony. I mean, they have a fantastic marketing team, Sony, and I think very few Japanese companies have good marketing team. Right? Incidentally, I work for this brand called Nissan. It's a cup noodles brand. So and they make very high quality noodles. We have Maggie from Nestle. I don't know if you're aware of Maggie from. There's a Nestle noodles brand in India, which kind of has 60% market share, and this Japanese noodles brand. I mean, you just take one bite, you know how good quality it is. Fantastic. But those guys, that team, the marketing team, they are just product makers. They don't understand marketing. And the worst part is that they don't care. But Sony is one company who really understand the importance of marketing, reaching out in the right way and reaching out to the right segment. So I think that's something to really learn from.
Well, you're absolutely right. And Sony
Yeah.
has the advantage of marketing multiple products and divisions and everything else. And I think that's helped them to be better at it than Nikon. And Jaspreet just said something, I answered him. I think Nikon's not lazy. I don't think that at all. I think they're arrogant and they're negligent in their marketing and communication. And I'm not going to back off that until they change. So, as much as I love Nikon, if you come here thinking I'm a Nikon fanboy, I may be with the gear, but not with the way they run things. Not at all.
Oh, I also I'm not sure if it's Sony Japan who's doing all the marketing, because I know that the Sony US, uh, you know, the,
Yeah.
they are probably heading, and I know for a fact that Americans are fantastic, and I mean you've got a great marketing culture. I mean,
Yep.
fantastic sales and marketing culture. So I think it's Sony's probably outsourcing their entire marketing from the US office and not from the Japanese office. And Nikon is surely not doing that, because it's quite a different thing to, if you give the job to Americans, they will understand the international market. They know what Indians are thinking, they know what Russians are thinking, they know what Europeans are thinking. For the Japanese, they have a huge language barrier. When they come to India, if you go into their offices, to the Suzuki office or to the Honda office, you know XYZ son, and if you can't speak with them because they don't understand English, they'll have a translator. So
Right.
if there's when there's such a huge language barrier, it's difficult for them to understand markets.
Well, let's face it. When you have a huge division under the umbrella of Sony, like Sony movies, television,
Yeah,
music, you they've definitely learned marketing, because that's all that is marketing. And
absolutely.
they can share that with subsidiaries, not subsidiaries, but other divisions within the Sony corporation. And Nikon has stodgy old marketing techniques of, suit and tie. Everybody's, everything has to be perfect, and everybody's worried about what they say. I mean, that's culture too.
Safe,
But
safe,
Sony's
safe.
experienced more than just the Japanese culture, and it shows.
Absolutely, yeah. So Japanese market is very safe. They will not deviate from their product. It's like they're just presenting the brochure and nothing else.
Yeah.
They'll have a very complicated legal department which will say no to everything that you propose. You trying to get creative with an idea, and then listen, we can't do that. Just say what's written in the brochure, okay? Just don't go beyond that.
Yeah. Hand them a brochure and shake hands, and we're good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, gentlemen, I hate to say it, but I am going to have to go. We've got 3 hours and 8 minutes on this one. It's not a record. We have beat that before, just shy of 4 hours. And I love every minute of being in here with everybody. And so many people have dropped in. I know that people are working. Maybe they're listening from work, or they just dropped in during lunch to watch or whatever. And I appreciate everybody that's come in. So, those that have not, please drop a like. I hate to beg, but I need to, because I need to get this to grow a little bit so I have more things that I can do on YouTube. And one of those is be able to put up more polls and all those kind of things. So if you would subscribe, if you haven't, definitely drop a like. It motivates me and it keeps me consistent, and being able to do shows like this with great people like Jeffrey and Frames. And I want
Well,
everybody to let Frames know he has to come back more often. Let him know in the comments. He has to.
and trust me, I want to. Listen, I told you how embarrassed I was to kind of stand you up. I mean, it is just so.
Hey,
I'm
things
telling you,
happen.
I could look. I was avoiding your WhatsApp messages. I like, he has messaged me. Let me not see it now because it's so embarrassing. So I was like, I was trying to, there's some animals that bury their heads into the sand, thinking the world is not out there anymore. It was like
Yeah.
it was like that
Mhm.
when I missed that show. It was so embarrassing for me.
Well, don't
Uh,
worry. Don't worry. Things happen. And again, it's
yeah.
live and, you haven't been around when I have no audio and, yeah, but we're getting better at stuff like that. But anyway, anytime, Frames, you are welcome. I know people want to hear from you, and I always enjoy your thoughts or opinions on a lot of these subjects. And real quick, Jaspreet, I'd love to bring Stu Blue in. Right now, he's just taking a break. And when he's ready to come back, maybe we'll get him in here to talk as well. He's always fun to have in the chat, no doubt
Yeah.
about it.
He's he's a he's a ton of fun.
Yep.
And Albert, just before we go, are you having problems with skin tones with the Sony camera? Absolutely yes. And also the greens, they're different. I can't qualify what kind of different it is, but it is different, and not in a good way. But I figured it out. I figured out that if I shoot in RAW and I have a preset done for Sony for for middle of the day lighting during the day, lighting during the evening and morning, and in the night. So I just apply those presets now and it's fixed because the files are fantastic. So you can really work a lot with them, but it requires some amount of work.
Bring
Yeah.
Frame TM and Frame Voyager together. That's a great idea. That is a great idea. Then
Who's that?
Jaspreet wants that because he wants to talk about videography.
Yeah.
And I'm not picking on you, Jaspreet. I agree with you though. I think it'd be a good time.
I love his passion though. I love how engaged he is, and because to type so much, it requires energy. I mean, it's amazing.
More cookies, James says. Yeah, you know what? I had my fill breakfast this morning, so I didn't eat any. But at night, yeah, that's always something that's going to happen. A cookie, a cupcake, something. But again, folks, I'll let you guys say your goodbyes before I close it out. So,
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a great. I mean, first experience. I think this is the second time I'm on live, and it's wonderful. I think Chuck, you have a wonderful audience. I mean, they're so active, they're so engaging, and I mean, just wonderful to just see the comment section and just to reply to some of them. It's amazing. It's a great experience. I've really enjoyed it, and I can tell you that I've really enjoyed it. I'm not feeling tired after an entire days of work, and it's 12:42 a.m. in the morning. So, thank you, sir.
wow. Well, thanks for hanging in here with us, Frames. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure, everybody. Frames, love your work, and I will be bugging your channel. I think driving you
Please,
crazy.
absolutely. Just comment a lot so that it just YouTube takes it to more.
Absolutely. Recommend you highly to go and watch all your content. Your delivery is fantastic. And I'm telling you, you don't have to worry about what it is, Frames. Just the way you deliver it is always enjoyable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Such a
Yeah.
pleasure.
Very, very calm and measured and precise and laid back and great. Period.
Thank you.
Hey, Jaspreet, don't worry about it, man. You hang in here. You're going to convert us all to nothing but video. Okay. I have faith you can do that. And I'm not picking on you. I always love you in the chat. All right. I
Listen,
really
I
do.
put this on video because most of the Nikon audience only talk about photography. Why? Why do you always only talk about photography? What is Victor done wrong? I mean, absolutely. This is
Oh,
video. You're absolutely right, Jaspreet. I mean, most of the times I'm watching video, so no, you're right. You're right. And
I
I
think
think,
it's I think it's because we're not good at video, so we don't like to talk about it.
yeah, yeah, it needs more work. You need
all
to
right.
understand, cut, and yeah, yeah.
No,
I
that's
will let it.
okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I was about to start another episode, so sorry about that.
No, hey, Frames, that's one of the things about this channel is I'll talk to people and say, you want to come on? They'll come on. Well, how long? I'll say, well, you can stay as long or as short as you want. I don't care. I mean, I do care, but my point is that the show's going on regardless. And I found that everybody that comes on, they may say, well, I can be there for an hour, meaning they have an out if they want to get out. And everybody stays for forever. And same thing with the chat room. I get to a point sometimes on Saturday nights for me, and when it's after midnight and we've been on over 3 hours, I'm thinking I got to go. And everybody will drop another comment that kind of keeps you hanging on, you know. But I love that about the channel. I love the audience. I love all you guys. And do me a favor and share it. Let's see if we can build our community.
Yeah,
It's great right now. And if we can find more like-minded people, let's enjoy it with them as well. So with that
yeah.
said, thank you again, Frames. Thank you, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
The technician, Jeffrey, statistician. And so anyway, until we meet again, which will be Saturday night. So it's every Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, every Wednesday at 12 noon. And you guys are invited back anytime. Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
You're
Great to
welcome.
meet you, and we'll keep our conversations going. Yeah.
All right, buddy. Thank you all very much. Thank you to the chat room. As always, wonderful time with you. Love your comments, love your opinions, and everything else. Again, share it with your friends. If you are in here and you haven't subscribed, please consider that. If you like just a roundtable photography conversation, we're not here about all the absolute specs. And if we need them, we call Jeffrey. He's here to do that for us. I got to pick on him a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's just photography and videography, Jesprit, videography too, chat amongst people that enjoy this hobby. So with that,
So
I say,
before you
yes,
go,
sir.
Chuck, can you guess Jaspreet's age?
I'm sorry.
Can you guess Jaspreet's age?
I'm sorry. Hang on. I'm missing it. Can I, what?
Guess Jaspreet's age. How old is he? Can you guess it?
Oh, Jesprit.
Yeah.
Man, I want to say young. So I'm going out on a limb here. I'm going to say in his 20s, 20.
So just and you have to guess it based on the kind of conversation he has, right?
Yes.
Yes, he just is 50. I don't believe that. I mean, just breathe. You've got to be on something. If you're 50 and you're so enthusiastic and so energetic, man, you've got to be on something special.
I'm really impressed now.
He's taking the good pills.
Yeah. So, Jeffrey, how old do you think he is? Before he comments.
Oh, gee. I would have thought maybe in his 30s.
Yeah, I used to think that he, going by the maturity of his comments, um, 40, 40 something, but now I think he's in his 20s. Just please let us know, please.
Yeah, Jesprit, let us know, man.
Yeah.
You're hiding behind the camera.
Now he's not. Now he's not typing. So you have just ask him his age if you want
I,
to.
I'm impressed no matter his age, but yeah, if he was my age with the comments that he provides, I'm thinking, wow.
Yeah.
All right, maybe we'll
There
catch him
you
on.
go. He's 31.
Okay, all right,
There you
all
go.
right. The mystery is over. All right. All right, Frames. Again, we're doing it some more. So I know that you're busy and you have things going on, but we're doing it some more. So be prepared. And again, anytime you're available, I don't want to bug you constantly with can you? Just let me know when you'll be available and you want to join, and we'll make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, folks. Again, wonderful chat. Be back Saturday night. Don't know who's going to be here, but the conversation will be good as always. Everybody have a wonderful rest of the week. God bless you all. And until then, have a wonderful day.
Thank you.